the market for more moves. The Aztecs with a chance to move up in the Mountain West on Saturday in Colorado. Plus, the Luka to the Lakers fallout continues. Now, it's time for and Jim.
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Pause. Did Big Voice Guy just bleep out John's name on the intro?
He's been redacted, I guess.
It's like John's a curse word. That definitely caught me off guard. Welcome in. What's going on?
It's time for and Jim.
Yeah, time for Beep and Jim. It's like a curse word now. Interesting. What's going on, San Diego? Jon and Jim, or I guess Beep and Jim on a Tuesday, taking you to 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Me and Brent holding on the fort once again while Jon is skiing in Wyoming. Missing a whole bunch here in San Diego. So Luka's a Laker. That press conference today was very interesting. We'll definitely get into that later in the show. Will Brinson, our insider in the NFL, is going to join us at 4:30. We'll have a couple more chats with Will Brinson this week and next week to recap the Super Bowl next week and then break down the Super Bowl this week because it's Super Bowl week. Everyone's at Radio Row. I don't know if Will's there, but it feels like every year Radio Row becomes less and less. It doesn't feel like it is what it was in the past.
How many of you have ever gotten to go to one?
I have. I've been to one, and that was in LA. And I just remember talking to people saying, yeah, we're probably not going to come here next year. Like if the Super Bowl is not in your home city, it's a lot to ask to go across the country, especially if your team is in the Super Bowl, and to broadcast live for an entire week. A lot of shows do it, some shows don't, but we'll talk to Will. I don't think Will's in New Orleans, but we'll see where he's at coming up at 4:30. But we'll start today. We didn't hear from AJ Preller yesterday, but he did speak at FanFest, and it's interesting hearing what he had to say from the standpoint of, oh, that's a lot, bro. You have a lot that you still need to do. Oh, okay. Yes, they obviously need a couple more starters. Yes, obviously they need a left fielder. Yes, obviously they need another bat or two. But when you hear it come out of the general manager's mouth, that's when it kind of hits you that, they kind of have a lot still remaining left on their plate here. They're not done with the meal. They still have a lot left to do. And this is AJ Preller on FanFest on Saturday afternoon when asked about the roster as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak on Michael King, obviously the organization excited about getting a deal with Michael. I think also the arbitration process has changed over the years. It's not really the contentious process it was, 20 years ago. But again, we take a lot of pride in treating our players well, and just, being able to line up with a guy in Michael's case who was, a front of the rotation pitcher, did an unbelievable job last year, making him feel that we value him so he can focus on baseball this year. I think it was a big step for us here this week with Michael. And in terms of like building the roster, every year is different. There's some years we've jumped out, we've made moves, early winter meetings, in November, December. There's some years we've had really super aggressive off seasons. I think you look at last year, I think we our baseball group does a great job kind of understanding what values are from trades, what we're trying to do big picture wise, how we're trying to add to a championship roster. And those deals come at different points in time. So, last season we were able to add a Dylan Cease, at the end of spring training. Luis Ariz a month into the year. Donovan Solano at this point in time wasn't signed. So again, I think it's all about getting the right players in the building and making the right moves. And we understand there's a time frame for what that looks like. So again, it's not for a lack of effort from all three of our part. But ultimately, we're going to do something that makes sense. We're going to do it at the right time. We know we have a championship type roster. We know we got some work in front of us. We've got to add a batter or two. We've got to add another starting pitcher or two. And I got a lot of faith over the next, few weeks and into the season. We'll keep looking to add to the roster and the team, and all with the goal of trying to bring a championship here to San Diego.
A couple arms, a couple bats. That's not like a small amount of work that needs to be accomplished here.
I like how you just slid that in at the very end.
Right. Yeah. Oh, we're working really hard, but we feel like we need 2 arms and 2 bats at minimum. It's a lot. I think this is what Preller is doing. He's looking at the market. He's never going to be in on the big names. The talking about Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman, who are still out there, no shot. He has, I believe now, 3 open roster spots on his 40-man roster. The signing of Elias Diaz the other day filled one of those spots. So that was the first major league signing that he had all offseason. I think he is just putting his foot down and he is waiting until someone comes to him. And by that, when you play that type of game, that's a very tricky one to play. Like, hey, we want you on this team, but we're not going to that number that you have. So he's going to wait, and he's going to wait it out. And the problem is if he waits out too long, there's a possibility that these players that he has targeted will eventually go somewhere else. Because I know if I was a free agent in baseball, there's a lot remaining. I would want to know where I'm going to play, where I'm going to be for the season, where my family's going to be for the season by a certain date. Like, there has to be a certain cutoff date. Now, AJ Preller, and we'll talk about this later in the show, he's done a lot of his work in February. So this is nothing new to AJ. It's not like this is uncharted territory here where you get to February and the roster isn't built out. He's made a lot of moves in the month of February, in the middle of spring training, the past 3-4 seasons. You guys remember Michael Wacha? Guys remember Seth Lugo? Obviously, Jurickson Profar last year. Dylan Cease. Those are big types of moves. I know the lockout year made the trade for Luke Voigt, but he had to make it then because he couldn't make it any other time because of the lockout. So February almost feels like a month that AJ Preller really starts to pick things up. He has to. Days are going by here at a rapid rate, and all of a sudden you look up and it's going to be opening day here at Petco Park against the Braves and Jurickson Profar. So hearing how much this team still has to do from AJ Preller is different than hearing it from me or John or Brent. We might have different opinions than AJ on what this team needs. AJ might think to himself, we're good in left field because we got Tirso Ornelas. Even though me and John and Brent are sitting here saying, yeah, they ain't going to do it. But when you hear multiple bats, multiple pitchers, you start thinking to yourself, okay, that's great. But when are you going to do that? Is that going to happen soon-ish? Is that going to happen like today? Is that going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen with Dylan Cease? I do believe that before any other moves can be made, there has to be a cost-cutting move in there somewhere, right? Because if there's not, then how are you going to add to this roster? You can still add before opening day, and then do you have to make sure by opening day you have the number down below the CBT? They're above that right now. Because once you get to opening day, that number's locked in. And then it fluctuates throughout the season, obviously. You can add to it and stuff like that. But once you get to opening day, if you're not over the CBT, you have to pay a tax. So when is AJ Preller going to strike? I would hope soon. There's a couple moves that are happening around baseball that we'll talk about here coming up later in the show that are a little interesting, to say the least. But I think, even people around baseball are asking themselves, what are they doing? What are the Padres doing? I know that me and Brent and John are asking that every single day. What are you guys doing? At least last year, I didn't like it, but the trading of Juan Soto signaled the direction of the offseason and the direction going into the year. The direction right now is staying pat and doing nothing. signing Elias Diaz to a 1-year deal. So we're T minus what? 9 days from pitchers and catchers reporting at Peoria, and they still have gaping holes throughout their roster. The one thing that they kept on hammering over the weekend, Brent, was championship roster, championship core, championship core. You even heard AJ talk about that in that clip there. We feel like we have a championship core. Don't you have to, like, I don't know, go to a World Series to consider yourself a championship core? That's just my opinion. Am I wrong? I mean, if you haven't made a World Series with this group of players, how could you call it a championship core? You might think that, and that's great.
But they have the potential to be.
That is a probably better wordage that AJ Preller wouldn't use. We have the potential championship core on this team. Okay. Potential is great, but it needs to blossom into something. It needs to actually happen. I do like the core of the team. I think a lot of people do. But what's that move going to be that puts them over the top? It didn't happen in 2022, and it didn't happen in 2024. So when are you going to make a move? And by 2022 and 2024, I mean, they did not get to a World Series. Not that they didn't have the players, they just didn't get there. But, like, what is it going to take? When are you going to act? So, again, sit here, wait it out, and T minus, less than a week away from, little over a week from spring training, right after the Super Bowl. And they're going to get Peoria, and there's going to be a lot of questions still. I know if I were players, I would not want to answer questions about who's going to play left field or, holes on the roster, or are you still waiting? I mean, all you need to know is Manny Machado sitting there thinking to himself, hey, guys, what's going on here? If Manny's saying it, the fans are saying it. And I'm not saying that AJ Preller is not working his ass off. Of course he is. He is coming up with every single type of scenario and every single type of trade and signing that he possibly can think of. I've already said, it's hard for me to put a lot of, I guess, blame on the lack of moves on AJ Preller this offseason, because there's a bigger picture and there's a something bigger at play here, which is the issues with the ownership. So it's really hard to sit here and continue to maybe blame AJ. I'm just asking the question. What is it going to happen? When are you going to do something? And those are all fair questions to ask. You just do kind of also have to put in perspective that AJ is kind of handcuffed here. And being handcuffed like he is, that's also a tough spot to be in as well. So it's, again, a waiting game here with the Padres. I would love, while Jon was gone, something to happen, because then I can make fun of him, but highly doubt it. I am predicting that nothing will happen the rest of the week. That's just me. I hope I'm wrong. But getting into spring training, I think we're going to go to spring training status quo. That's just kind of what I feel. And again, I hope I'm wrong. All right, coming up next, an interesting move in baseball today that put my antennas up. We'll talk about that move coming up next. right, back here on Jon and Jim. So there was a move in baseball today that a lot of people might not even pay attention to here in San Diego, but I'm going to tell you why you probably should pay attention to it. So about an hour ago, Ken Rosenthal tweeted out, free agent outfielder Ramon Laureano is in agreement with the Orioles on a 1-year, $4 million contract. You're like, Jim, why should I care? I'll tell you why you should care. One, the Orioles have been a team that needs starting pitching because they just lost Corbin Burns. And second, they now have on their active roster, Brent, 7 outfielders. 7.
What? They have an overflow of one position? What's that like? Oh, wait.
Tyler O'Neill, Cedric Mullins, Ramon Laureano, Heston Kjerstad, Colton Cowser, Dylan Carlson, Daz Cameron. 7. So immediately I saw that because earlier in the offseason, they signed Tyler O'Neill to like a basically Jerkson Profar type of contract. And then today they signed another outfielder for 1 year, $4 million, major league contract. And I'm thinking to myself, my Windhorst fingers just went up. Like, what are they doing there? What's going on in Baltimore? Why are they signing all these outfielders? Does that mean a guy like, I don't know, Heston Kjerstad is somebody that AJ Preller is targeting, and the Orioles, maybe want Dylan Cease, and in a trade you get, Heston Kjerstad from the Orioles, and boom, there's your left fielder. Left-handed bat under team control. That's why I'm like, what do they mean? What are they doing here? So I think that is kind of something to pay attention to. Could be wrong. Could mean absolutely nothing. And for some reason, the Orioles just want to have 75 outfielders on their team. Or
Can never have enough outfielders.
Or shortstops.
No, they're the best athlete on the field.
Or they're doing this because they know that they're going to have to trade away some outfielders, or they're in talks with the team, and a couple of their outfielders are names in trade talks, so they're just getting some reassurance there. Some type of insurance backup plan to make sure, like, okay, we're probably going to trade one of these guys. Let's make sure we have somebody that, for insurance, like AA, just to have somebody there. Because you kind of are thinking to yourself, if the Orioles don't make a trade, you're not going into your season with 7 outfielders. That's just not going to happen. I mean, the Padres have 2 right now. Can we have a couple? We'll take 2 off your hands.
Maybe it's one of those things where AJ likes to, whenever he doesn't do something, we're like, yeah, we heard some offers, but we didn't hear anything that we really liked. So maybe he's getting some offers, but he's not hearing back enough from what he's getting to where he's just like, no, we'll just stick with what we got for now and just wait and see. Maybe, in a couple of weeks, Baltimore becomes a little more desperate. Once they get into spring training and they have to actually fill out a roster card and be like, all right, left field. Okay, there's our lineup card.
James in the chat on YouTube says, I'm grasping at straws. I don't think I'm grasping at straws. I'm just asking a question. Why would they do that? Why would the Baltimore Orioles sign another outfielder? Why would they do that? You just signed Tyler O'Neill, not Harrison Bader. Tyler O'Neill this offseason. So why would you sign another one? And for 1 year, $4 million, I mean, yeah, it's not a lot, but it's not a minor league invite contract. So the Orioles have 7 outfielders. Why would they do that? Why would they have that many outfielders? Are they about to do something? Could the Padres be involved? Could the Padres be looking at their team as a team that matches up with Dylan Cease? And maybe they did, but the Orioles were like, we want to make sure we have some insurance here before we trade away a potential outfielder to you guys for Dylan Cease, or multiple. I don't know, because the Padres need multiple bats, as you heard from AJ Preller last segment. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Again, maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm grasping at straws, like James says. But I think it's kind of weird that the Orioles signed another outfielder today, and now they have 7 on the roster. So we'll see. Again, just keep an eye out. That's all I'm saying. If it turns into nothing, it turns into nothing. But it is interesting. All right, coming up next, even the national media is kind of, confused about what AJ Preller is doing. You're going to hear about that coming up next.
This report is sponsored by eBay. The Lakers are back at it tonight when they take on the Clippers. You can hear that right here on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage starts at 6:45. The tip will be shortly after 7. In Super Bowl news, Kansas City head coach Andy Reid told the media today that he is sticking around for at least one more year and he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl. The Aztecs are back on the road this Saturday when they take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts at 6 p.m. Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7, right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you'll find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
So John's texting me. He gave me a really good topic for the show.
Oh God, really?
Like an amazing topic.
Oh, wait, hold on. We'll play his open since he gave us an idea. Hold on.
All right. Topic from John Schaefer, texted to me moments ago. Might be the best topic thing he's ever come up with. You got it, Brent. I can't stretch any longer.
Yeah, just
all right.
go. I can't find his Johnisms.
He says, dude, topic for the show. Is the Super Bowl cool? 70470, start your message with team. It's okay, Brent. Don't worry about it. Is the Super Bowl cool? Thanks, Sean. Big help, buddy. Appreciate it. Okay, so we're sitting here asking, what's AJ Preller doing? Totally fine. We cover the Padres every single day here. We know more about the Padres than a lot of people do, and we ask these questions every single day. But when you start getting the national media who know a lot saying, I don't know what they're doing, that's when you got to start asking, is this going to be a problem? Here's Ken Rosenthal today on Foul Territory talking about the Padres offseason so far.
I don't know exactly what they're doing, and I'm not sure they know exactly, because remember, all of their offseason maneuvering is taking place against the backdrop of the lawsuit that is going on between the late owner Peter Seidler's widow and his brothers for control of the team. So where they are financially, that's not clear. Their payroll is up. It's up because of internal raises for the most part. They haven't done anything really of consequence except for sign catcher Elias Diaz. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do in the next few weeks and leading up to opening day, because that will tell us where they are.
Even he's like, I don't know what they're doing. And their offseason has been a bunch of nothing. Yes. But it almost feels like the next 2 months here leading up to spring training is when AJ Preller is like, all right, now we're going to act. And now we're going to do something. So I think once they get into spring training, probably no moves will have happened. You get there, everyone's going to be talking, oh, look how great everyone's in fantastic shape. Oh my God, did you see the backfields the other day? Look, that was amazing. Oh my God, Tirso, it's great. Look at Jackson Merrill taking fly balls in center field. It's awesome. Tatis never looked better. And it's going to mask, like, okay, what does their 7, 8, 9 hitters look like? What's their bench look like? Are you really going with Elias Diaz and can't be behind the plate for the entirety of the season? Are you really going to go with Randy Vasquez and Matt Waldron as your 4-5s? Even though Schulte thinks Randy Vasquez made 20 starts last year. Matt Waldron, do you see the spin rate? Oh my gosh. Adrian Morhone, greatest player ever.
Yeah, say something nice about everyone on the team.
Something nice about everybody. Everybody has to get their participation trophies from Mike Schilt.
It's almost like they're like, hey, Schulte, I bet you $10 you can't fit everybody on the roster and on your speech. He's like, yeah, hold my beer.
He's like, bet. Watch this. Of course I can. So the off-season plans for AJ, the off-season moves, the grand plan that we all try to decipher every single day. Nobody can decipher this. Nobody can say definitively what they're going to do. They still have multiple holes on their 40-man to fill. And that's just their 40-man. That's not even talking about their actual 26-man roster that it will be on opening day. So when the national media is going to that route, I don't know what they're doing. Then you just say, all right, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. Just have to wait and see. So more on that coming up later in the show. We also have potential landing spots for Dylan Cease and what teams match up best for him and the Padres. So we'll talk about that later in the show. Did you see this the other day, Brent? We talked about the Pacoda projections for the Padres when it came to playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacoda projections for World Series odds came out. I want you to guess, Brent.
Okay, what was their playoff yesterday?
38%. So if Pacoda, which is, I'm not going to say it's accurate, but it's a good measuring stick for where all these numbers and projections and sites think and believe your team is at. So at this moment in time, Pacoda does not view the Padres as a playoff team. Where would you think the Padres are at when it comes to World Series chances from a percentage standpoint?
I'm going to go low because yesterday I thought I was going low and it turned out I was high. So in honor of today, I'll go 4.
4%.
4%.
4%. All right.
I feel like you're going to tell me it's like 0.0004.
Not a bad guess, to be honest. Not a bad guess. So right now, it's kind of easy. Dodgers. They lead.
Yeah,
they lead the
obviously.
pack as far as World Series percentage goes. Pacoda gives them a 21.6% chance to win the World Series next year. The Dodgers.
Sounds about right.
Followed by the Yankees at 9.4%. Followed by the Braves at 8.5%.
So it goes from 21 down to 9.
Yeah. So they are essentially saying it's the Dodgers World Series or kind of bust. Like they believe so heavily in the Dodgers to win the World Series next year. They have them at 100% chance to make the postseason. And they give them almost a 22% chance to win the World Series. Very high. Not surprised, to be honest with you. The Padres, you said 4%?
Yeah.
The Padres sit at 0.7%. Pacoda has given them a 0.7% chance to win the World Series. So if we're looking at all the projections and we're looking at their projections to make the postseason and their projections to win a World Series, Pacoda gives them a 38% chance to not only make the postseason, they only give them a 0.7% chance, along with Milwaukee, to win the World Series. That's kind of wild to me because they won 93 games last year. And as AJ Preller has said, they do have a good core coming back. So to me, it's like, wow, they really believe that the loss of Profar, the lack of moves, the holes in the roster are really going to hurt them this upcoming season. This is not saying they're going to win 65 games. It's not. I think they could still win in the mid 80s. But what they're taking into account here is, well, you're not beating out the Dodgers in the division. So there goes one avenue to the postseason. They believe that the Diamondbacks are better now with Corbin Burns than you are. So that takes away at least one of the playoff spots. Philadelphia, the Mets, and the Braves, all three of those teams are playoff teams. And then you're going to have one team from the Central. So because of that, your pathway to a postseason spot and then a World Series doesn't look great. And that's just projections at the start of the year. It's not to say that it's going to be like this throughout the entire season, because hell, the Padres last year at one point were favored to win the World Series. I'm sure last year at this time they weren't anywhere close to being the favorites. And yet they were at one point last year before they blew it. But it is kind of telling where these projections see the Padres and they see the rest of baseball in the National League, more importantly, that the teams that the Padres are going to have to be competing with for a playoff spot, it's going to be tough. Can you beat out Arizona? Can you beat out Philadelphia? Can you beat out the Mets? Can you beat out the Braves? Are the Giants going to be anything worth anything? Those are what these projections are saying. And as of right now, they do not believe that the Padres are going to be in the postseason. A 0.7% chance. There's nothing more that I would love to do than at the end of the season tweet out, hey, remember when the Padres had a 0.7% chance to win the World Series and they pull off a miracle? Or a 38% chance to make the postseason? Boom, they're in the postseason.
Maybe they'll pull an opposite of remember they had like a 90% chance to beat the Dodgers and then they choked. Maybe this will be like the opposite of, they have a 0.07% chance.
And again, they're projections. They're not anything that you should take for like. I would say that.
Hey, think how much it'll go up once they have an actual left fielder.
I know, right?
And
I would say that power rankings are at the bottom of my totem pole as things to pay attention to. Like, never pay attention to power rankings ever.
Do you count this as power rankings?
I was going to say I would put this.
These have more stats involved.
Yes, I'd put this above power rankings because they're based on analytics and stats and projections. So power rankings are opinions.
Oh yeah.
Pacoda and the percentage chance of them making the postseason and then winning the World Series, that's based on actual like computers and analytics and things that aren't opinion based. So I do not take much into this because we remember in 2023, the team I think had like going into the year, I want to say damn near almost a 90% chance to make the postseason. And look what happened that season. So it's just, what do the computers and analytics and projections think of your team? And right now, Pacoda does not think the Padres are going to be a playoff team next year. And they don't think they're even sniffing a World Series. But again, they're just projections. All right, coming up next, where's the best landing spot? Or I guess what team matches up best with the Padres for a Dylan Cease trade that I think could be happening soon? And I'll continue to say, hope I'm wrong. But we'll talk about that coming up next. now, Brent? During the break, you told me Windhorst tweeted out. What did he tweet out?
Oh no, he didn't tweet it out. He just said it on PTI.
Okay.
He was talking about how Luka's super motivated to beat Dallas, but he phrased it in a way that is a phrasing thing because he said that he's gonna
say it. It's okay.
He said that Luka's gonna be pounding the Mavericks for decades.
Pause. I hope someone on PTI caught that. It will be on social media here very quickly. We will get to Luka coming up at the top of the hour. He had his introductory press conference today in LA, and he again, every day that passes, Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, looks worse and worse and worse. I don't know how he can even look at his phone. Everywhere you look, this guy is getting destroyed. Just destroyed. You got Emmanuel Acho, who, again, like Emmanuel Acho, just ripping this guy a new one. You got Chase Daniels on FS1, former backup quarterback.
Say all these football guys.
Yeah, saying that Nico Harrison's an idiot. I would, if I were him, and I'm sure he doesn't, but like, don't look at social media ever at all. So we're going to hear from Luka at the top of the hour. Will Brinson is going to join us at 4:30 today to talk about the Super Bowl. Oh yeah, the Super Bowl is this Sunday. So we're going to talk to him at 4:30. But Dylan Cease, I saw his article today, and it talks about the best landing spots for Dylan Cease, along with teams that make the most sense for a trade for Dylan Cease. While I think that Dylan Cease is the likeliest to be traded, this is kind of interesting to me. I want to see what other teams have. Who are the top teams that Dylan Cease could go to? Again, I don't want Dylan Cease to be traded at all, but if he's going to be traded, I want to be prepared for it at least. So the first team that they match in a Dylan Cease trade, no surprise here, is the Baltimore Orioles, team we just talked about, team that I think you got to keep an eye on because their signing today gives them now 7 outfielders. What do the Padres need, Brent? Outfielders. What team needs starting pitching? Orioles. Kind of makes sense. They say here that Kobe Mayo and Jackson Holiday guys are untouchable for the Orioles, but a name that we mentioned, Heston Kjerstad, a guy that potentially could have taken over for the loss of Anthony Santander, but they signed Tyler O'Neill, so that kind of doesn't make sense now. And they signed Ramon Liriano today. They have Cedric Mullins. They have Colton Cowser. So where's Heston Kjerstad going to play? I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard the name Heston Kjerstad out there, unless you're a diehard baseball fan. Hell, I just learned of the name today. But I'm trying to find out what would match up for Dylan Cease. So that's the first team. The second team here they have is the Boston Red Sox. Okay. If I'm going to be trading Dylan Cease to, Brent, I am going to be trading him to the American League.
Oh yeah, you don't want to keep him in the National League.
I'm already going to be dealing with, if I'm the Padres, the Braves and the D-backs and the Mets and the Phillies for all potential playoff spots this year. Maybe the Giants, who knows? And with the National League getting a lot of top talent, the last thing you want to do is trade away Dylan Cease to a team that you're directly competing against. Red Sox, you're not competing against them. So it would make sense. I'm not going to read these names because no one knows these names, but I'm just looking at teams. Another team they have here is the Minnesota Twins. Another American League team that makes a lot of sense. They need pitching. And then we get to the teams that don't make any sense, and I would never trade Dylan Cease to. And that's the Braves, the Cubs, and the Mets. I would never, especially if you are trying to compete and win now, trade a top 5 pitcher in the National League or just a top 5 pitcher, top 10 pitcher in baseball to a team that's directly in competition with you. So could you get a lot from the Braves or the Mets or the Cubs? Potentially. I would need a lot to have to trade him to a place that you're directly competing against for a playoff spot next year. Because this season will not be about can they win the National League West. They're not going to do that. This season's about can they make the playoffs as a wild card? Can they get one of those postseason spots? And there's 3 of them to make it in and hopefully get hot and, make a run. So any team that is competing with you directly for one of those spots, no way in hell am I trading Dylan Cease to them. And 2 of those teams are the Mets and the Braves. I would be very upset if that were to happen. Hopefully it doesn't. And hopefully teams like the Orioles and the Red Sox match up on a potential trade if they do trade Dylan Cease and AJ gets what he wants. Again, keep an eye out on the Baltimore Orioles. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, coming up next, Luka finally speaks. You're going to want to hear what he had to say about the Mavs trading him to the Lakers. Also, Will Brinson is going to join us at 4:30, but I didn't even see we had a call. That's on me. My bad. Can we take Dave right here real quick, Brent? Dave, sorry, buddy. I didn't even see you were on the line. Dave, what's going on, man? I didn't even see you, buddy. What's up?
Hey, Jimmy, you need to maybe take off on vacation up there in Wyoming with John and just take a rest. You're overtaxed and overworked here.
I know. I really am. I'll let my bosses know what's up. What do you got today, man?
Anyway, well, look, a couple things. First of all, since you brought up Dylan Cease, the bigger question is: so you trade Dylan Cease, who replaces him? You've appreciably at that point weakened your starting pitching lineup. So I better get back a pitcher. We certainly need a left fielder, a catcher, a couple of pieces on the bench.
We're not getting that for Dylan Cease.
That we need, right?
You're not getting that for Dylan Cease. Thanks for the call, Dave.
Well, I understand that.
All right. Well, we got to go to break here in a second anyway. You're not getting that for Dylan Cease, but what you would get is all the money that he is owed off the books to then hopefully use some of that to go and fill the rest of the holes. So you could probably fill maybe 1 or 2 holes with the trade, Dylan Cease trade, and then use the almost $14 million that he is owed this year to make another move out there to fill another hole. That's kind of where you would be at. And then maybe another trade for a starting pitcher. There's multiple moves that would have to happen if you trade Dylan Cease. You can't just trade Dylan Cease and that's it. It would be trade Dylan Cease, sign a player, make another trade. That's how I kind of view it. All right, coming up next, Luka speaks. You're going to want to hear this coming up next on Jon and Jim. Luka, he didn't look like an overweight bum to me. If he looks like that and they think that's overweight and he's still dropping 30, 10, and 10, why are you getting so upset? There have been so many from the Maverick side coordinated leaks of he's out of shape, he doesn't play hard, he wasn't going to take the max, he not a good teammate, whatever it is, right? To try to make him and make their trade of Luka almost like justified. And when you hear from Luka, it basically is a giant FU to the Mavericks. And if I were the Mavericks, I would be terrified that this guy is going to not only do everything that you wanted him to do, which is get in shape, even though I think he's fine if he's putting up 30, 10, and 10 every night. But if he goes on with the Lakers to have like a Hall of Fame career, which he already, 25 years old, 5 straight All-NBA first teams, All-Star every year, he averages 28, 8, and 8. He's been to a finals, Western Conference. He's Western Conference MVP. This is what Luka had to say today when asked about the Mavericks front office and trading him to the Lakers.
How are your feelings toward the upper levels of the organization, Nico in particular, or the decision to trade you?
Well, that's their decision, so I have no comment on that. They made the decision. I don't know why. But that's their decision, so I can't do nothing about it.
And then one of the reasons that was given was that there was concern that, beyond this summer, or that there's a chance you might not agree to the Supermax extension. Did you or anyone on your inner circle indicate that might be the case?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not. He goes on to continue to laugh about that. That was another thing that came out recently that, well, the Supermax is an issue more for the Mavericks than it was for Luka. But Luka, by the sound of it, was going to sign the Supermax. He already bought a $15 million house there in Dallas. And you have now a pissed off Luka. Not you. That to me would be a scary thing if I'm the Mavericks. Because already Luka's one of the best players in the league. Now you piss him off, and he's going to take this and use this as a chip on his shoulder. You know it, he is.
Oh, yeah, he's one of those players.
And it's going to come back and backfire them, I think, in a huge way. Another thing, too, which is interesting, and it's like a tiny thing, but I just noticed this. So Lakers rolled out the red carpet today. They have a press conference for him. They have a media tour for him. Everything, right? Presenting the jersey. They bring him on the private jet. They have all this stuff for him, right? Anthony Davis gets like a little scrum on the court
after practice.
I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Now they are on the road. They're in Philadelphia. So maybe that's a reason why they didn't have anywhere to have like a proper introductory press conference there. So maybe that's the reason why, but still the optics of it are kind of funny. Anthony Davis is not a scrub. He's an all-star. He's a really good player, but he ain't Luka. And here is Luka talking about the noise of him being fat. Like I mentioned, you piss off this guy, he is going to come back to haunt you. Here's Luka on the rumors that he's overweight and not in shape.
It's a motive. I know it's not true. I know, but it's a motive. Like I said, I came here, one of the biggest clubs in history of sports, so it's a big motive. for a long run here.
So he says motive, but what he means there is motivation. It's big motivation for me. You just, again, you handed this dude on a silver platter, a top 4 player in the league. He had an amazing year last year, scoring champ, led his team to the NBA Finals, Western Conference Finals MVP. And you pissed him off and you put him on the Lakers. It's like, what? And the fact that the Mavericks are just so okay with wiping their entire franchise of anything Luka Doncic is kind of, it's weird. It doesn't make sense to me. And it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Like, why were they so hell-bent on getting this guy to town ASAP and just wiping it, like just eliminating everything Luka from their franchise? I just don't get it. Let me just respond to this. Murray in the chat, bro, says, Jim, are you secretly a Lakers fan? Sometimes I wonder. If you listen to the show, which I know you do all the time, you would know I'm not a Lakers fan. So you know better. Yeah, exactly. I'm paid to talk about sports, including the Lakers. So calm down, watch the show, don't comment. Anyway, I still don't think anybody has their head fully wrapped around this. I don't even think the Lakers have their head fully wrapped around this. I think that everybody's still asking questions of why, and those questions will never be answered, in my opinion. I don't think there's ever going to be an answer to the why. I really don't.
This will be one of those things where it's going to end up in someone's like tell-all book in like 20 years, or 5 years when that Nico guy gets fired and he needs money, and he'll write a big book about the whole Luka trade or something. But it'll be something we'll find out about it, but not for like 10 years down the road.
Another part of this that doesn't make any sense to me is he essentially said, Nico Harrison, the Mavericks GM, I know I'm getting fired. He is telling everybody with this trade, I'm going to get fired. Like, he's going to get fired eventually. And this will be the reason why. Guarantee it. Because if they do not win a championship this year and next year, and like fully maximize on having Anthony Davis and Kyrie and Klay Thompson, then you are going to get fired. So then I go back to, all right, who the hell signed off on this? The owners, the new owners of this team, the group that Mark Cuban sold to. That's another part of the equation. The new ownership group, if they signed off on it, that's even scarier. And it kind of brings me back to the Padres, that we have been talking about, all right, just sell the team. With all the drama that's happened with the ownership group, the Sider Bros and Shield, that the best course of action probably is just to sell. But say that did happen, Brent. Say they did sell. What if they were like the new Mavericks owners, not willing to give a long-term contract to a guy like Jackson Merrill and letting him walk in free agency once his arbitration years are up, once his team control is up? That is another thing that would be a factor, and it would be scary to think about. But I also don't want the status quo to remain the status quo with this team, which is they're going to be dealing with legal battles for a long time. They're not going to be doing anything in free agency, and they don't have any money to spend. Maybe either way, they would let Jackson Merrill walk in free agency. But I'm just saying, if the Mavericks news ownership said no thanks to a supermax deal for Luka Doncic, a international superstar, who's to say a potential new owner here in San Diego wouldn't do the same thing with a guy like Jackson Merrill, a guy that the Padres need to sign long term, and a guy that needs to be in a Padres uniform for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, the risk that Nico guy pretty much took was, you know how when you play roulette, there's that you're not betting on black, you're not betting on red. There's like that one specific like number where you have like a 1 in 100 some chance to land on it.
Mhm.
He took it. He mortgaged his house. He put everything he owns, and it's like, nope. I'm not going to pick a color or a number. I'm going to pick just that one specific space, and we're either going to win everything, or I'm going to be living under a freeway overpass in 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, another analogy you could use is he put his house up for sale, and the first person that walked in the door gave him an offer, and he said, "Sure, I'll take it," without even fielding anything else, without talking to anybody else.
He didn't even put his house up for sale. Someone just walked up and was like, "Hey, I'll give you $5 for your house." And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah, no, yeah. Nico Harrison just went up to the person across the street, asked him, "Hey, you want to buy my house?" And it's like a beautiful house. And the guy's like, "Nah, I can't afford that. But just for fun, like, what are you asking for?" And then he gives him a number. And he's like, "Wait, are you serious?" Of course I got to take that. That's what Nico Harrison did. He cut off his own legs. He sold his house without fielding any other buyers. It's incredible. If you're wondering what grade the Mavericks and Lakers deal got, oh boy, wait until you hear the grade from Yahoo Sports on the Mavericks Lakers deal. It's pretty hilarious. You're going to hear that coming up next. So another team in the National League West, Brent, has just made a signing. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour.
What the Rockies do today?
No, that's not the Rockies.
Oh,
It's not the process of elimination here. It's not the Rockies. You can figure it out. If it's if it was the Padres, we'd be definitely talking about that right now. So it's not the Padres. But another team in the National League West has made a move, a player that the Padres have been, I guess, linked to or potentially linked to. So we'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. But right now, the Luka trade is still processing in everybody's minds, and we all love grades, right? We love grades here. Remember when you guys were making fun of me the other day for
yeah, because you thought a plus was
F pluses, and I was like, dude. Okay, F plus, F. It's still an F. Here's the grade that Yahoo Sports gives the Mavericks-Lakers trade.
If I'm grading the trade, just a straight up grade for the Jazz, an A plus, because you got free picks and a free shot at Jalen Hood-Schifino. An A plus for the Utah Jazz. You get an A plus. Danny Ainge, Zanuck, and that whole Jazz front office. That's the grade everybody wants to know about, of course. For the Lakers, I'm giving the Lakers an A minus in the deal. An A minus only because, I don't know, a little knock here because with Luka, he still needs to prove he can stay healthy and be in good conditioning. There's still some concern there. He's going to be paid a ton of money moving forward. It's really an A plus. It's an A plus for the Lakers. It's an A plus for both of them. Okay, I'm an easy grader. For the Mavericks, though, oh boy, this is an incomplete in one sense. This could be an F plus because of the lack of trade return. It could be a B at best if this team ends up looking great. If AD stays healthy through the playoffs and there's potential with Kyrie moving forward, maybe all things work out there. But trade return wise, it's an F. How do you only get one first round pick back? The Lakers had two they could offer and swaps, and you only get one back. So I'm giving an F plus to the Mavericks for this trade grade with the note that it could end up looking better in hindsight, considering the way this roster is just so balanced now. This is a move where it's an F unless they win a championship. They got to win a title here, or it's an F. They have to win a title over the next 2-3 years. Have to, or it's an F. Simple as that. It's an F.
Or an F plus. That was Kevin O'Connor there of Yahoo Sports. He's been covering the NBA forever. F plus. Brent?
It could be an F minus.
Or an F minus. But that is what the consensus is in the sport. Lakers fleeced. Jazz, what? Okay, they're there. It's fine. And then the Mavericks, giant F. Like giant red F. The story of Danny Ainge is hilarious, by the way.
It's almost, you remember that part in A Christmas Story when Ralphie's having his dream about like his essay and his teacher's like A plus 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 plus. It's like 30 pluses. It's like their grade is an F plus 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 plus.
I saw a tweet today that, you know, the movie Saw. Of course you do.
Yeah.
The very first Saw, at the very end of the movie, when the guy that's chained up realizes like what happened, and the guy in the middle of the room was the killer the whole time, and they show flashbacks, and it's like he realizes everything. I saw a funny tweet. It's like, this was Danny Ainge after he realized that he was a part of the Luka Doncic trade to the Lakers. He's like, no, because I guarantee you, and good on the Lakers. I put more of this on the Lakers than the stupid Mavericks. If Danny Ainge found out that this deal included Luka to the Lakers, you can bet your ass that not only would he not approve, he would also leak that out. That, hey, Luka's available, everybody. So good on the Lakers, and I guess the Mavericks in a sense, for keeping this whole thing quiet, because nobody knew. And people are still shocked by it, as they should. All right, coming up next. One team in the National League West has made a move and taken a potential player for the Padres off the board. Who's that team? What's that player? We'll talk about that coming up next on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Staple Stores. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid told the media today that he's sticking around for at least one more year. Reid told the Super Bowl media that he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl, and he's going to stick around for at least one more season. In NBA news, Sixers star Joel Embiid is set to return tonight after sitting out 15 games. The 2023 NBA Most Valuable Player has only played in 13 games this season. The Aztecs are back on the road this Saturday when they take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts at 6 p.m. Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7. And you can hear that, of course, right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Will Brinson's going to join us at 4:30 to talk about the Super Bowl this upcoming weekend. Also, Trainwreck Radio, where we'll have a pair of tickets to see San Diego State take on Boise State Saturday, February 15th at Viejas Arena. So stay tuned for that. And then in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to see Simple Minds. Simple Minds with Soft Sell and Modern English, Saturday, May 24th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. So those tickets in the 5 p.m. hour, San Diego State basketball tickets at Trainwreck Radio, and Will Brinson at 4:30.
Can you name the Soft Sell song? They were a one-hit wonder, so they only had one song.
Brent, they
did Tainted Love.
They could walk in the studio right now, and I wouldn't know who.
Well, I wouldn't know them either because I don't know what they look like because they only had one hit.
They could.
They did Tainted Love. You know that song, Tainted Love?
Yeah,
yeah. That
Tainted Love.
Yeah, that was them.
Okay, so yeah, they could walk in here with shirts that said "We Are Simple Minds," and I would be like, Who are you guys?"
But they're not Simple Minds, so they're Soft Sell.
Who are you? Are you Soft Sell? I don't know. Again, when you ask me questions about music, you're going to get awful answers.
Well, that's fine. I'm going to ask it anyways. Just like John doesn't know crap about movies, but we ask him anyways because it's funny.
That is true. So there has been a move in the National League West. I'm sure you've seen it by now, but if you haven't, Randall Grichuk has signed a 1-year deal to go back to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last year with the D-backs, he was really good. In 106 games, he had 20 doubles, 12 home runs, 46 RBI. He hit .291 for them, and he had an .876 OPS. Now, he's in his early 30s. He's not old, but he's not young. He has a career .769 OPS. He could hit you 20 home runs every year. I mean, you look at the last 3 seasons for him. In 106 games, he had 12 home runs in 2024. In 2023, with 2 teams, in 118 games, he had 16 home runs. And then 2022, Colorado, say what you want, had 19 home runs and 73 RBI. Guess how much he signed for, Brent?
A year?
Just 1 year with the Diamondbacks.
$10 million.
Cut that in half.
$5 million.
There you go.
Who needs John? 1
year, $5 million. A player that the Padres, I think, were linked to. I don't know their, I guess, interest level on him. But how I view this is not that the Padres missed out on Randall Grichuk, is that the Diamondbacks are going to be a fairly decent team next year. Hell, they could be really good. So the Diamondbacks are making moves. They signed Corbin Burns this offseason to their $200+ million contract. They have a really good pitching staff as it is. You bring in Randall Grichuk, make other moves. Randall Grichuk's not going to move the needle. I'm just saying the D-backs are a team that you will 100% have to compete with this year for a playoff spot in the National League. So is Preller cooking up something that we don't know? It couldn't bring in Randall Grichuk to be a DH for $5 million? Okay. I guess Padres fans are just going to have to continue to wait. But you see these moves now, and as we get closer to spring training, the only players that I see getting big-time contracts, and maybe they don't, maybe they only land one-year deals, is Alex Bregman and Pete Alonso. Because it's we're at a point of like no return where you got to get something done here quickly. Stop pussyfooting around.
Doesn't this kind of lean towards the fact that, or not the fact, but just lean towards the theory of he's going to make a trade? Because we're seeing other teams pick up, not great players, but role players for fairly cheap, and we're just sitting here not doing anything. It kind of makes me feel like he's just waiting for that trade to come in, because they're not going to sign anybody, at least not until they make a trade to try to free up cash.
Well, most likely, because a lot of these players are the role players that the Padres could use. And instead, they're not choosing to re-sign Donovan Solano for $3.5 million. I don't even know if they were in on Randall Grichuk, who signed for $5 million with Arizona. Are they thinking of a reunion with David Peralta? You can get that on the cheap.
I'm almost wondering, too, if remember last year when we're like, Jackson, who's going to play center field? And then he went into spring training and he kind of killed it. And we were like, oh, I just calm down. It's only spring training. We got to wait and see what he did. Maybe they're going to wait until they get to spring training and actually see how some of these other guys look. And if they look like they might be serviceable, they'll just go, we'll ride with them. And if they get in there and just, it's deer in the headlights and they look lost, then they're going to be like, okay, we got to do something now.
Potentially, I think you could be onto something there with a guy like Tirso or Neal's. Like, hey, let's give him a shot. We got to start giving these young guys more opportunities. Look what happened with Jackson Merrill last year. And maybe that gives the team a little bit of a false direction in that you could find another Jackson Merrill. I don't think you can right away. I hope that they do. But Jackson feels like a pretty unique one-of-one type of guy. I don't know if they have that in their system. Hell, talking to David J a couple weeks ago, he's like, yeah, no. All the prospect rankings, Padres have 2 guys in the top 100, and like that's it. If you're one of those nerds out there that loves the 100 to 200 rankings, okay, but the Padres are not filling up that list either. So it tells me, at one, probably weren't in on the market on Randall Grichuk. 2, if they were on the market for him, you couldn't do $5 million. No, he's gonna probably have a bigger role. He'd have a bigger role here than he would in Arizona. Again, I'm not going to get too upset about Randall Grichuk because he's not a name that we've been talking about all offseason. He's not a guy that I feel like could put this team over the edge, but he's serviceable. He's cheap. And he's better than any option they have right now for the holes that they have on their roster. So another one of those players goes off the board. It does feel like it's picking up, though, right? Like it does feel like things are happening. Ha-Seong Kim signed recently. You get the moves today. You have the big names out there still. The trades, though, those for what Preller wants from Dylan Cease, that could take a while. Because if you're the Orioles, I'm just using them as an example, you're still a really good team going into the year. Why give up a bunch now for Dylan Cease when you could wait it out? Now, again, if you do wait it out, you run the risk of potentially having to pay more for Dylan Cease because at the trade deadline, pitching comes at a premium, or they could view it like, well, here's our best offer now. It's not getting better than that. because you much rather have Dylan Cease for a full season than a half season. Once it comes down to a half season of Dylan Cease, you're not giving up that prospect that you were maybe willing to give up in February. And we know how Preller is and how fickle he is. He is not going to budge on anything. He's going to get what he wants. If he wants XYZ, he might not get all XYZ, but he's damn sure going to get X and Z. He'll pick a player out. He'll identify that guy. And he's going to get that guy. Or he's not. It's one or the other. It's not going to be like, well, we'll move off that player and add another player to the mix. No, he's going to either get his guy or move on to something else. And that's where we're at, I feel like, with Dylan Cease. Hell, maybe even Michael King. I know everybody was happy that Michael King signed his arbitration and got that taken care of last Friday. But that still doesn't mean that he's going to be on the team for the entire year. Hope I'm wrong. I'll continue to say that until either proven otherwise or proven right. That the best course of action is to have both of these guys on the roster to start the season. You figure something else out as far as taking money away from this team that you need to build out the rest of your roster. And you go to the season with a top 3 rotation of Dylan Cease, Michael King, and Yu Darvish. But things are happening as far as role players go around baseball. And that's what the Padres are in need of the most, is the role players. You don't need to get Barry Bonds in left field. You just need a serviceable outfielder that, I don't know, isn't Tirso Ornelas, a 25-year-old rookie that hasn't had one at bat in the major leagues. That'd be nice. So when you see role players going off the board, which I do think, today, Ramon Laureano with the Orioles, 1 year, $4 million, outfielder. Today, Randall Grichuk, 1 year, $5 million. These guys could have helped the Padres. And for that price, yeah, I would have thought that would be a price that the Padres would want to do. Or they're thinking of something bigger and better in their minds, and that's why these guys are not Padres, and they're somewhere else right now. All right, Will Brinson, 4:30. He's going to join us to talk about the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the Super Bowl next, Brent, because we haven't talked about it yet. It's Super Bowl week. And oh, by the way, we're staring down the barrel of a potential three-peat with the freaking Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll talk about that. Is it cool or not? As John would ask.
John's contribution to the show this week.
Is the Super Bowl cool? Yes, John, it's very cool. We'll talk about that coming up next. Is the Super Bowl cool? 70470. Start your message with team. I'm serious. I'm asking the question because that's what John's contribution to the shows this week are. While he's on vacation, he asked this question.
It's almost like that was like, hey, Jones, you have a question for the show?
Is the Super Bowl cool? Oh, yeah, yes, John. But seriously, is the Super Bowl cool? 70470. Start your message with team. It has felt awfully quiet the last week and a half, week plus.
Oh yeah, it's been just dead silent for considering it Super Bowl week.
And
it's supposed to be silent last week when we had that week off.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact the Luka trade really just blew everything up. The trade deadline in the NBA is, I think, on Thursday, so you still have a bunch of superstars that could get traded.
Yeah, but when has the NFL ever said that we're gonna, take second fiddle to any other sports
it's not
league?
like they're trying to take second fiddle, but I'm just saying the Luka trade caused all the attention to shift over to what's going on in the NBA. And I mean, I kind of like it. I like something new because give me like the one storyline this week as far as Super Bowl goes that you could think of that isn't nauseating to talk about.
Three-peat, just because it hasn't been done before.
Even then, the questions are, will Patrick Mahomes be considered better than Tom Brady if he wins his third Super Bowl in a row? It's like, well, pause. I mean, Brady beat Mahomes twice in the postseason, once in a Super Bowl, once at Arrowhead. Okay. Brady's got 7. Yeah, he never won 3 in a row. But I do think that beating Mahomes in a Super Bowl has to account for something.
Well, it's eventually it's just gonna end up being the LeBron Jordan thing again, to where it's just like, oh well, Jordan, he three-peated in 2 separate occasions, and it's like, oh well, yeah, but LeBron won this amount of titles, yeah, but he lost a bunch of them too. So it'll just be that all over again, only football version.
Speaking of LeBron, the one thing we didn't ask or didn't talk about with the Luka trade is how does this affect LeBron's legacy?
Or Bronny's legacy.
More importantly, you're right. How does that trade affect Bronny's legacy? But back to the Super Bowl.
Because now he's got another shooter to compete with.
Oh yeah, exactly. I just can't put that. I just can't go there yet. I can't say if Mahomes wins his 3rd in a row, he's the greatest of all time. Like, can we let this thing play out first? Like, he's 29 years old. The fact that we have to put a stamp definitively, I'm Nick Wright. He's the greatest football player I've ever seen my entire life. Well, you're a Chiefs fan, bro. Like, yes, he is a top 3 quarterback already in the history of the sport, but like, let it play out. What if he never wins another Super Bowl again? What if Travis Kelce retires after this year, gets married to Taylor Swift and has the amazing media career? And what if Chris Jones retires after this year because he's getting older up in age? And what if he never win a Super Bowl again?
Kelce claims he's not going to retire.
But like, you get my point is, if Mahomes wins this Super Bowl and that's it, he will have 4 titles. Brady will have 7. Brady has all the numbers. Will Mahomes get there? Eventually.
Yeah.
And then it's the conversation we have all the freaking time about LeBron versus Jordan. Jordan's got 6, LeBron's got 4, but guess what? LeBron has all the numbers. Well, LeBron's also played 10 more years, it feels like, than Michael did.
Yeah, almost.
So even then, it's hard to even like put it in comparison. But it's just that to me is the only, like, one of the only talking points that will generate discussion. Everything else, I just like what? Saquon Barkley trying to win a Super Bowl.
Well, that's not
and
bad.
shoving it to the Giants. The Eagles bouncing back.
On a local level, national media won't give a crap about it, but in the local media, Matt Araiza,
yeah,
going for Super Bowl. That'd be a nice ending to, not ending any, but I mean, nice chapter in his story if they could win and get that. It's kind of been boring too, because usually, the Super Bowl, if there's no storylines per se about the game, some player will say something stupid during media day or something, which will, then become news, or, it hasn't happened the last couple Super Bowls, but some player will go get arrested, because he's out in the Vegas club or something and got in a fight, and just something.
They are New Orleans.
Exactly. Some spontaneous story would just like pop up. And then this year it's just like, nope, we're all back in the hotel 30 minutes before curfew.
Well, I hope they're back in the hotel 30 minutes before curfew, because they got a job to do and they had to win a Super Bowl. And I would hope that nobody goes out and gets arrested. Those are the things that I don't want to see. I think the year, like, you had Deflategate, that dominated the entire sports media landscape. But with the rematch here between the Chiefs and the Eagles, you kind of know everything you need to know. We've seen the matchup before. There's new players on both sides, but it's not like a complete turnover of roster. The biggest name is Saquon Barkley being added to the equation. And maybe that is what puts the Eagles over the top. Maybe that's what they needed was they needed Saquon Barkley to get past the Chiefs. But, you heard Cynthia Freeland with us last week. A little sneaky nugget for you. The Chiefs are the best tackling team in the NFL. And if you watch the game the Eagles played against the Commanders, they couldn't tackle Saquon Barkley if their life depended on it. So the biggest story is, can Mahomes get a three-peat? Okay. That's great. Is he the greatest of all time? That's great. Can the Chiefs get knocked off by the Eagles? Okay, that's great. I just hope it's a good game. That's what I say every year. I hope it's a good game, because the last thing you want, now Aaron would love this, but like if the Eagles blew out the Chiefs or the Chiefs blew out the Eagles, it's like, meh, okay. But luckily, I mean, we've been pretty blessed here. The last couple Super Bowls have been really good.
That's all I care about. As long as it's a good game. I don't have a horse in the race either way, and I'm not a Chiefs hater or anything like that. So as long as it's a close game, that's all I care about.
I am a definite Chiefs hater. I only want the Eagles to win for Aaron, but even then, if I wasn't with Aaron, I would not know who to root for in the Super Bowl, because I don't like particularly either team.
Usually I'll do stuff if I kind of mentioned it here with Ariza, but I'll look through the rosters and be like, oh, do they have any Badgers on their rosters? Oh, okay, yeah, I remember him. He played linebacker. Okay, so I'll root for them just so then a Badger can get a Super Bowl ring or something like that. But will
San Diego throw a parade for Matt Ariza if they win the Super Bowl?
Little tiny one, just a couple blocks.
A small get together down at
Snapdragon.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, coming up next hour, Will Brinson's going to join us at 4:30. Also, Trainwreck Radio for your chance to win a couple pair of tickets to see the Aztecs take on Boise State. Yes, Brent.
Oh, and real quick, text line, be patient. We're going to get to the Fantastic Four trailer. So just, be careful what you ask for. We're going to get to it. Just relax.
Yeah, we will get to that. I have a couple opinions on that. We'll get to that later in the show. Will Brinson, join us next hour. But coming up next, the wrap right here on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Make sure to catch Lakers basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when they take on the Clippers. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:45 with the tip will be shortly after 7. In other NBA news, 76ers superstar Joel Embiid will make his return to the court tonight after missing over a month. Embiid has only played in 13 games this season. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said he's sticking around. Reid told the Super Bowl media that he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl this year and is going to coach for at least one more season. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Creeping up on spring training. Is AJ Preller still in the market for more moves? The Aztecs with a chance to move up in the Mountain West on Saturday in Colorado. Plus, the Luka to the Lakers fallout continues. Now, it's time for Jon Jim.
All right, hour 3 of Jon and Jim here on San Diego Sports 760. I expect that open to be the open, or at least the end of that open for the rest of the week. Because
I want that in like the rest of the week's opens. Everyone,
when Jon gets back,
even on Monday's opens.
Yes. Monday after the Super Bowl, we're talking about the open of the show first, not the actual game. Not the game, the open. All right, so Will Brinson's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Trainwreck Radio at 4:45. We're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Aztecs take on Boise State. You're also going to want to stay tuned in the 5 o'clock hour. We're giving away a pair of tickets to see Simple Minds on Saturday, May 24th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. So still a lot to get to in the remainder of the show. But Brent, right now, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you think Dylan Cease will get traded before pitchers and catchers report next week?
No, I don't. But I put it, the likelihood of him getting traded before opening day, I give it like a 60-40. I think 60-40 he gets traded before opening day. But I think we're going to get to pitchers and catchers next week. Michael King and Dylan Cease will both be on this roster. I hope I'm right. And I hope I'm wrong about them trading him. Because if they don't, the likelihood of Dylan Cease being your opening day starter against the Atlanta Braves is very high. It's either him or King. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say he makes it to the start of pitchers and catchers next week, and you will see him in a Padres uniform next week in Peoria. All right, Brent, next question.
If Kevin Durant gets traded, it's like deja vu all over again. If Kevin Durant gets traded to the Warriors, are they a title contender?
Well, he picked the Warriors last time. He didn't get traded there, but no. I saw this is heating up right now, and now the rumor is that the Suns are very interested in Draymond Green. Could you imagine if there was a trade involving Kevin Durant and Draymond Green getting swapped for each other? The Warriors, look, I get they're trying to maximize Steph Curry. They've already failed. They failed on it. They didn't draft well. They didn't acquire enough assets to make big moves. They whiffed on free agents in the offseason. They whiffed on trades in the offseason, which was their own doing. They could have had Lauri Markkanen, but they decided to keep Brandon Pajemski instead, which is ridiculous. KD's 36. Steph's 36. Yes, KD's walking 28 points a game, but KD ain't 28 years old anymore. He's 36, and they would be better, but they would not be a title contending team.
He can't even make the Suns a title contending team.
Yeah, and they have Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Devin Booker is a young superstar player, and yeah, it just would be a desperation move on the Warriors' part. I hope they don't do it. I'm hoping that they get a player like, no, just hear me out. It sounds stupid, but at least the guy's younger, and if he goes to a different situation, maybe they can get him on the right track. Not Bronny. They can get him on the right track. He has superstar potential. When he's healthy, he's really good. Your boy Zion. Look, hey, it won't cost the amount that it would cost to get anybody else. It's a risk. It's a huge risk.
Yeah, and he's hurt so much that he makes Joel Embiid look like Cal Ripken Jr.
Anyway, I don't know. That would kind of give me more intrigue. I don't think it would work, but it would give me more intrigue. And I love KD, but I know what I'm getting with KD. And at 36 years old, he's not going to make the team a title contender. Nobody's going to make this team a title contender. None. All right, next question.
Where's the best landing spot for Myles Garrett?
I want him on my 49ers.
Yeah, I want him on the Bears too.
I'm sure every team wants him on their team. You know what team makes a lot of sense? Which I wouldn't be surprised if they use a lot of their draft capital to go get this play, get him, would be the Detroit Lions. Aiden Hutchinson coming back from a pretty gruesome injury. You pair him with Myles Garrett. Oh my God. I think that would make a lot of sense. And they're a team that, if their defense held up, they would have had a really good chance to go to the Super Bowl. Their defense completely failed them this year, later in the year, and in the postseason. I mean, if you're a Lions fan, you're kicking yourself because the Commanders should not have been in the NFC title game. They didn't belong there. They got hot, and they took advantage of a really banged up defense. But I think Myles Garrett in Detroit kind of makes a lot of sense. Even though every fan of your own team would want Myles Garrett. I want Myles Garrett. Brent wants Myles Garrett.
We haven't had a edge rusher since we traded Khalil Mack away,
right?
Because it turns out that he's not that awesome when teams quadruple block him every game. So, it would be perfect for them, but we'll see if it actually happens.
All right, final question, Brent.
All right. What's your thoughts on the Fantastic Four trailer that came out this morning?
Now, did you stay up for it? Like, did you wake up for it at 4 a.m.?
No.
Good.
I woke up once to go to the bathroom and it was like 2:30, and I kind of joked. I was like, I'm not staying up an hour. So I woke up normal time.
Yeah, I woke up at around 8:30, and I was not getting up a second sooner than that to watch the trailer. Honest opinion, kind of underwhelmed, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm burnt out. I don't know, but it doesn't change my excitement level to watch the movie. I'm still going to see it opening night, but I was just kind of like, okay. You spent what, 15, 20, 30 seconds with Ben Grimm, the Thing, cooking, and then you didn't see anybody's powers except for Johnny Storm, really. I mean, you saw a little bit of Sue Storm's powers. You didn't see any of Reed Richards' powers. The silhouette of Galactus in the back of his head was really cool. But other than that, and it's a teaser, I get it. You're not going to give the entire plot of the movie in a minute 30. But I don't know. I was just a little underwhelmed.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought, it looked good. A lot of the questions people had was, is the Thing going to look awful? And he looked pretty good. I like the sound design on it. I like the retro futuristic look that they kind of have going for, wherever it's taking place in. And
right.
I think I was talking with Jack Cronin about this morning, and it's one of those things where I think we're kind of spoiled.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, this was all the teasers where you get like maybe a minute and a half, minute 40. That's about it. And now, like Superman, that was a teaser trailer, but that was over 2.5 minutes long, to where now if we don't get, a 3-minute trailer, we're like, oh, they didn't show us enough. But it already looks better than every other Fantastic Four movie that exists. So,
well, the bar is not very high.
No, it's not.
For other Fantastic Four movies, the bar is extremely low. So you have the Marvel brand on it, and the people in charge of Marvel doing it now instead of Fox, you're gonna most likely get a pretty good product. And they've put so much into this movie because of how important it is.
Only the first family of Marvel, and
it's also important to the story going forward, to Secret Wars, to the other Avengers movies. It's kind of like the jumping off point for their next phase. Like I know that they're still in the multiverse phase, whatever that's what right? Still in the multiverse phase.
Yep.
But this to me feels like, all right, this is the jumping off point to get the Fantastic Four in the MCU, to get the X-Men in the MCU, to get the new big bad in the MCU, which is going to be Doctor Doom, which is Tony Stark. Well, not Tony Stark, but it's Robert Downey Jr. And what's going to happen with Kang? It just feels like this movie is so critical to all of that, and it's the starting point of everything. But was the trailer great? In my opinion, I wouldn't consider it to be great. I consider it to be fine. Little underwhelming, but it doesn't take away my excitement from watching the Fantastic Four, which it's in June. July is going to be a wild month for movies.
Well, yeah, because Superman's like 2 weeks before that.
You got Superman, and then you got Fantastic Four. You're like, okay.
There's another one I want to say is like the Jurassic, whatever they're up to now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that.
Oh yeah, with Scarlett Joe.
But I have like zero interest in that because the last couple Jurassic movies have just been awful.
Yeah, I'm done with the Jurassic World movies. Sorry, but anyway, the Fantastic Four trailer is out. Looks pretty good. Like, I like the set designs. I like the overall visuals of it. It's a different universe, so it's not the Earth that we know in the regular MCU movies. Everything's different. It's more like a retro, futuristic type of feel, which is pretty cool.
That just kind of reminded me of Fallout without the apocalypse stuff in it. Just the way how everything is, it looks like it's the 60s, but yet they still have like technology and stuff like that they didn't actually have in the 60s.
Well, we do, I think, know. Actually, we don't really know, but we can kind of feel where this is going. This universe, this Earth is going to go bye-bye. Most likely, because they're going to shift the Fantastic Four in the MCU, bring him to the Earth that everyone knows in the movies, and then there you go. I'm sure like 5 people out there knew what we're talking about.
No, probably 6.
At least 6. John would be like, excuse me? What?
John would have thought we were talking. Oh yeah, I used to play that game when I was a kid. You put the checkers in the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, John, that's Connect 4.
Yeah, no, this is Fantastic.
Oh, it's not the same thing. It's not Connect 4 the movie.
Yeah, no, Fantastic Four. All right, coming up later this hour, Will Brinson going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Trainwreck Radio at 4:45 for your chance to win a pair of Aztec tickets to see Boise State. But coming up next, a segment only John would love. You'll find out about that coming up next. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. So with Jon out, you're probably not going to get a lot of bracketology talk on the show, or Pac-12 realignment talk, or TV rights deal talk. But there is stuff to talk about, and this was a segment Jon would be absolutely proud of for me. We're going to dive into it right now with some Jim-isms.
Now we go into the mind of Jon Schaefer. Meat free. AJ Preller's daily lunch menu.
He started stalking me.
It's time for Jon-isms.
For Jim-isms.
What would your Jim-isms open be? He thinks an F plus is better than or is worse than an F minus.
You know what? If you say Jim-isms really quickly, it does not sound right. it just, I don't know. Maybe that's just my mind, but if you say it quickly or you don't say it like correctly,
No, it's just in your head.
it's just in my head. Okay. Well, anyway, going to the front page of ESPN, smack dab in the middle is Joe Lunardi's bracketology breakdown. And it's updated this morning. It was updated at 10:30 a.m. I know Jon would have been all over this. And you're probably wondering, all right, where does Joe put San Diego State? San Diego State, once again, a close victory on Saturday night at Viejas Arena over Wyoming. Wasn't the prettiest of games, but again, they got the job done. They got a win. Do you expect San Diego State to blow out all these teams? Is that a reason why you're not putting them higher on your list, Joe? Because two of their wins under their belt are some of the best on a resume of your quote unquote, mid-major teams. There's not one other team out there that's not in a power conference that has the wins under their belt like San Diego State. If I'm wrong, okay. But they got Houston and they got Creighton. And to me, those wins I think should carry a little weight. Hell, they should carry probably a lot. Especially where with Houston's at and with Creighton's at, both in the top 25. And Houston haven't lost since San Diego State beat them in Las Vegas earlier this year. But where does Joe have San Diego State, you ask? Well, right now, he has them as the last four in, and he has them as the top of that list. So the last four in, he has San Diego State, BYU, Pittsburgh, and Nebraska. So basically, he has Nebraska as the final team in on his bracket. Where does he have San Diego State? He has San Diego State in the first four-round matchup games as an 11 seed against Nebraska. And then they would be put into the South region, where if they would win, they would take on number 6 ranked St. John's in Providence. They also have a very interesting matchup here that, if it took place, would be incredible. Jon would lose his mind. So let's just say Joe Lunardi's bracket plays out. San Diego State, one of the final four in. All right. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that's just for this argument's sake, let's just say that they are. San Diego State makes it in as an 11 seed. They have to play Nebraska in their first round matchup, which is who's going to be the 11 seed to take on St. John's. Say they beat St. John's as 11 seed. Who would they face in the next round, you ask? Well, they would either face Cleveland State or Kentucky. Reunion of Lamont Butler, that would be something that
that'd be interesting.
Would not only be very interesting, but if you're a San Diego State fan, it's must-watch television. That would be almost too good to be true if San Diego State were to get to that point and they would take on through the Mesa. And by the way, he has the biggest, most important shot in the history of the program. And he's on a Kentucky team that is looking to win a national championship this year. They're a really good team. Now, Lamont's dealt with injuries this year, but that would be something. Do you imagine San Diego State versus Kentucky in the NCAA tournament? That'd be wild. So that's the first thing that John would have definitely wanted to talk about today on the show, is the possibility, if all the stars lined up, where San Diego State could take on Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. The other story is one that he actually tweeted out today. And I knew the second he tweeted it out, I'm like, yeah, he's glad he's on vacation, but there's a little part of him that wishes that he could just talk about this one thing for one segment, and then he'd be totally fine. And that is the Pac-12 media rights deal. He tweeted out an article, and it says, ESPN, Fox, and CBS are all open to media rights packages with the Pac-12. It says in here that obviously no deal is done, but they are open to discussing further packages, with the Pac-12 for their networks. It says in here, it's unclear how much interest each network has, but a source characterized the conversations with prospective partners as, quote, productive. Now the Pac-12 needs a media rights deal going into the league's rebuilds, year, and you got 1 year left before you need a media rights deal. It also says here, after former Commissioner George Kloff, I just wanted to say his name.
I know, I miss him. Can someone hire him?
Yeah, can you
do
something? Just hire him somewhere so I can just say his name. It says, failed to provide a media rights expansion package that schools wanted to sign in 2023. I think if you were to look at the networks the Pac-12 is talking to, ESPN, Fox, and CBS, those all I think would be great landing spots for the new Pac-12 media rights deal. I'd be totally fine with that. Now then it would be about the money, and I don't really care about the money. I just like, where's the easiest place to access all their games? They also mentioned in here the Pac-12 is rebuilding their Pac-12 network, creating an entity called the Pac-12 Enterprises that produces league games for other networks to air and rents out a state-of-the-art production facility to other local broadcasters. I just want to get it done. I'm the like, don't tell me how the sausage is made, just give me the hot dog. That didn't sound right either. Damn. Not doing great this segment, guys. Just like, get it done. I know John would dive deep into the weeds here, but for me, if you said the Pac-12 will be either on ESPN, CBS, or Fox, great, cool, get it done. That's awesome. Now, another big component here is like, you need more teams in your conference. Wouldn't you think they need to get another team or two for football before they can truly hammer out a media rights deal? Like, you need to get those things taken care of. Is Memphis still on the table? Are you going to go? Are you going back to Memphis or not?
Maybe they're going to treat it a lot like Padres left fielder.
Just wait till the price drops and just like hopefully something happens.
Hey, we'll have a team eventually. We don't know who it's going to be, but there'll be somebody in that spot eventually.
Yeah, eventually there'll be another team there. Hey, Sac State. Is that true that Adam Schefter tweeted out you guys had $500 million in NIL money? Or $50 million, excuse me? Not 500.
Now that De'Aaron Fox is gone, you guys have nothing, so you might as well go for it.
Yeah, you want to join the Pac-12? It also states here that the league still needs one more full FBS football playing member to join before 2026 in order to maintain its FBS status. But the media rights deal will likely come first. That's great. I think after basketball season, right before football season, things will start picking up. And that's when I expect things to start picking up, because they would want to get something done before then so they could promote it throughout their football season. Hey, this is what we're playing next year. This is how you watch our games next season. Because next year will be the final year San Diego State is in the Mountain West. All right, coming up next, Will Brinson, CBS Sports, going to join us to talk about the Super Bowl. It's this Sunday, if you forgot. He joins us next.
All right. So what could you do with an extra $75,000 like right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork or cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. $300,000. That's your money. You can use it. One client got $150,000 out, paid off all their credit cards, a couple of car loans, personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as one day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. Loanpronto.com. 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336, loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Make sure to catch Lakers basketball tonight on San Diego Sports 760 when they take on the Clippers. Pre-game coverage starts at 6:45 with the tip will be shortly after 7. In other NBA news, 76ers superstar Joel Embiid will make his return to the court tonight after missing over a month. Embiid has only played in 13 games this season. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said he's sticking around Reed told the Super Bowl media that he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl this year and is going to coach for at least one more season. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Stay with us because coming up at 4:45, we're giving away a pair of Aztec tickets to take on as they take on Boise State Saturday, February 15th. So stay tuned for that for Trainwreck Radio. But right now, as we are every Tuesday, we're joined by CBS senior NFL writer Will Brinson joining the show. It's finally Super Bowl week, Will, and 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. It feels long. Sometimes it doesn't feel long, but this one to me feels like it's taking forever. Does that feel the same way for you?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's like partially because nobody's like that excited about this matchup, even though it's in a vacuum, like a great matchup. I just think it's having to like get the Chiefs and the Eagles once again is maybe what is sort of driving the lack of interest, where it's like, I mean, literally the only things about this that have changed are like Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, and Saquon Barkley. And those are big things. Like, those matter. But I mean, by and large, it's been, I think, kind of like, it's just like we know what it was, and it's also we know. You know what the Chiefs are going to say. They become like the Patriots were for not just on the field, but even like at media day, where there's no surprises. You know what you're going to get. There's talk about a three-peat, and then I think too, it's like everyone is so tired of the voodoo economics, for lack of a better phrase, that the Chiefs use to win games, like this black magic they pull out of the hat, where it's like, it's going to be a great game, it's going to be close, and then Mahomes are going to steal it at the end because that's what Patrick Mahomes does. And I just think maybe it's even on the heels of the Patriots dynasty. Getting another dynasty so soon is like very just sort of wearing on the public in general. There's no little teams popping up to do fun stuff.
Right. It's the same thing we've seen, even though it's a great team and even though it's a Hall of Famers everywhere on the field. Yeah, I think, people do get exhausted about, watching the same thing over and over again.
Having said that, let's point out, getting to watch Patrick Mahomes play football should be one of the life's great joys. Getting to see Tom Brady, the entirety of Tom Brady's career is something that I greatly appreciate. I'm sure I'll appreciate it more as I get older. And then the same thing with Mahomes, like getting to see his whole career, getting to see the way that he plays at a high level in these games, we probably shouldn't take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's one of those things where if you are not a Chiefs fan, a lot of other fan bases just don't like him. It feels like the Jordan effect. Like if you were a Knicks fan in the 90s, you hated Jordan, even though it was Michael Jordan and everybody was like, dude, we're watching greatness right now. And that's what you're doing right now with Patrick Mahomes. Will Brinson, CBS senior NFL writer, joining us here on Jon and Jim, brought to you by Hamul Casino. If you're the New York Giants, how hard are you rooting for the Chiefs to win this game?
Pretty hard. Yeah. I think. I mean, yeah. At least there's somebody, right? It's like Taylor Swift.
Right. Because if the Chiefs do win, it's just another indictment. And I don't know how many more indictments you can have on the Giants' choice here to let Saquon go. But it's just like, can we stop seeing the clip of John Mara just having his... It's like, can we stop?
Every time, I will say, like, guilty as charged, too. Like, every time Saquon does something awesome, I also want to, like, tweet out the meme where it's like, if Saquon goes to the Eagles, I'm going to be sick. If the Eagles win, I mean, I don't think you're going to like fire Brian Dable and Joe Shea now, but I mean, it's definitely going to continue to be an indictment of the decision. But I also go back to this too. It's like, yeah, I mean, it looks stupid because of like how Saquon's doing, but I'm not entirely sure that the Giants, like, I don't think we would be having the same conversation if the Giants had kept Saquon around, because I don't think that he would be having as good a season with the Giants, and they certainly wouldn't be in the Super Bowl because they got Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense from that angle. And, now that Saquon's on the big stage, it just gets amplified even more that the Giants let him go. And oh my God, he went to the rival Eagles. Will Brinson, CBS senior NFL writer, join us here on Jon and Jim. You're not betting against Mahomes again, are you?
No, I learned my lesson the last 2 weeks. I mean, I will say, I think I was like, and we talked about this on last, but like, I was kind of right about the Bills game where it was going to be close. Josh Allen was definitely going to have a chance to derail the narrative, and ultimately Patrick Mahomes was probably going to come in and steal the show, which he did. And I think there's a real chance for the exact same thing to happen here, where you have the Eagles are a really good football team, probably the better football team than the Chiefs. They're going to play great. Jalen Hurts will be awesome. Saquon Barkley's going to be incredible. That offensive line will be great. The receivers are awesome. The defense has been great this year. Jalen Carter's going to have a monster game, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to show up at the last second and steal the game. Like, that's probably how it's going to go, similar to what went a few years ago with the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's the same game, and no one would be surprised if that were to happen. But if you're the Eagles, Will, like, give me the blueprint in your opinion. Like, what if they don't do this on Sunday? You're gonna like lose your mind.
If they don't, I mean, I think if they, that's a good question. If they allow Travis Kelce to torch him, I think I might lose my mind. Right? I mean, it's like the guy hasn't been great during the regular season. He shows up during the postseason. He is sort of the fulcrum in the postseason for that offense. And it's like, if you, and by the way, they got beat pretty bad by tight ends over the last couple of weeks, whether it was Zach Ertz or Tyler Higbee. If you go out here and you get torched by Travis Kelce in this spot where we know Travis Kelce is going to show up, then that's just I think it's tough. But I mean, there's nothing really that they could do outside of, even if they come out and start throwing the ball over the place with Jalen Hurts to try and open up the run game, because I think the Chiefs will stack the box against them. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that, like, maybe Nick Sirianni yells at the crowd. That might drive me crazy, but I feel like I just feel like the way that this game is going to play out is like set in stone. And it's hard to imagine a different scenario than, like, I don't think either team's going to blow the other one out. Mm-hmm. Even if Philly gets a huge lead, I don't think that the Chiefs are just going to cave and not come back. And I suppose the Chiefs could get a big lead and not stick with the run, and that would maybe make me mad. But I just think I think it's going to be really similar to what we saw a couple of years ago with the Chiefs and the Eagles, and that's just how it's going to play out.
Yeah, because like you said, these are like very similar teams to back then, with like a couple new players, and obviously Saquon is the biggest, but most and large, like they have the same rosters that they did a couple of years ago. Will Brinson join us here on Jon and Jim. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and you say, all right, if he wins a third straight here, never been done in NFL history. The talk of him being the GOAT is already out there. Greatest of all time, this and that. So then what stops the Chiefs if Patrick Mahomes wins this Super Bowl? Because it kind of feels like nothing will stop them from winning another Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've been saying for months. They're the new Patriots, where they figured out a way with the contract that Mahomes is under and all the pieces they have in place. And I mean, remember, it's not that long ago that they traded Tyreek Hill, and people were like, well, that's it for the Chiefs. And they just figured out a way to reload and adjust. And I think that's how you build these dynasties. And so, like, really the only things, like, Travis Kelce retiring would be a big blow, but they've shown they can win without him being, a critical component on the offense. They added Xavier Worthy. They're going to find a way to add other pieces in free agency in the draft. They'll keep doing that. The defense stays so strong. I think the one thing that could stop the Chiefs from winning, like, basically every year would be coaching. If Andy Reid decided to hang it up, and he said he's definitely back next year, I think he'll be back for a while, because why not? If you're winning the Super Bowl every year, why would you walk away? And then, Steve Spagnuolo is a big deal. Like, the fact that he's gotten some interviews this year, but nobody's really wanted to hire him, and he's just been, you would never see the architect of a 3-time Super Bowl champion defense really get almost no looks as a head coach just because he was bad with the Rams. This guy's won so many titles as a defensive coordinator, and I think being able to hold on to him is a major feather in Andy Reid's cap, even if sort of by accident, but just that just makes a massive difference for the Chiefs and what they're trying to build, I tend to think.
Yeah, that makes me upset every year. Like, how is nobody going out there and just backing up the Brinks truck for Spags? Like, you want to really try to break up this quote unquote dynasty? Then you hire away one of their better coaches. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just.
If you're the AFC, go hire Spags and then fire him like a week later after they hire the new. Not really, but I mean, yeah, I just think, yeah, it's crazy because this guy's had so much success as a defensive coordinator. And I mean, just doesn't really seem to be any particular interest in trying to bring him in as a head coach anywhere.
Yeah, it's wild because all you hear from players that play with Spags is how amazing he is. And in the last couple Super Bowls, some of the biggest defensive plays, they credit Spags for dialing it up at the exact right time. But no, this just keep him on the Chiefs and continue to have a great defense. It's totally fine.
It's like the Bills. Stop trading with the Chiefs on draft day.
Yes.
Like when the Chiefs, when you see Brett Veach's number or John Dorsey's number,
don't pick
up. You're in Kansas City area code, just don't answer.
Yeah.
It's simple.
It's very simple. Don't pick up. All right, final one here for you, Will. Give me your favorite prop bet. I don't know if you've seen the prop bets, but I'm sure could name some off the top of your head. But what is your favorite prop bet, like going into a Super Bowl, that you keep an eye on?
Okay, so I got a bunch of long shot ones that I put up on CBSSports.com. I'll give a few out. Xavier Worthy to have 50-plus receiving yards in the first quarter is, I think, 30-1. And I mean, this is a guy that can just get it done on one shot. And so I sort of love that one. I also am a big fan of Jalen Hurts to record the first down of the game because you can get it with a scramble. You can get it with a designed run, and you can certainly get it with a tush push if they have third or fourth and short early on in that game where they're willing to be aggressive no matter where they are on the field. So I kind of like and that's like 14-1. So I kind of like all three of those as long shots. But I think, if you want one that's like basically even money, Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown is -110 or -115. And we're talking about a guy that just is going to get the ball on the 1 yard line every single time when they do that tush push. Saquon doesn't care. It doesn't bother him that Hurts is involved there. And I just think that's probably an incorrect price for Hurts to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to have multiple touchdowns in this game. He's like you said, he's like a touchdown vulture. When they get to the 1, he's going to do a tush push and they're going to get it in. It's just an automatic for the Eagles. All right, Will, we'll have a good weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you for a final time to recap the game coming up next week. John will be returning, so we'll both have you for next week for our final time. All right, Will, thanks for joining us, man. Have a great rest of your night, man.
Thanks, man. Talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, later, man. Thanks. Will Brinson there, senior sports NFL writer for CBS. Again, he's brought to you by Hamul Casino, 7 restaurants, thrilling games, and a sports pub voted San Diego's best. Hamul Casino is fun above all else. All right, right now, 877-767-4760. 877-767-4760. We need 2 contestants to play Trainwreck Radio for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see San Diego State take on Boise State next Saturday, February 15th at Viejas Arena. 877-767-4760. Your chance to win those tickets as we play Trainwreck Radio on Jon and Jim coming up next. All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Coming up next hour, AJ Preller. Whoa. Got choked up there. Got choked up. Talking about our boy AJ Preller. He spoke during FanFest and laid out all the needs the Padres still have for this roster. And it's not just one player, it's like multiple. So you're going to hear from AJ Preller coming up next hour. But right now, Brent, let's get to it.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's contestants, we have Ryan and Matt. Normally, Ryan would get his choice of bleep word or Jim, but John's not here. So, Ryan, you're just going to get to go first, okay?
10-4.
All right, Matt, you there too?
Yep. Here.
All right, perfect. So Ryan's up first, followed by Matt. I'm both your lifelines today. Brent, what is the question?
All right, guys. Did we mention the Super Bowls on Sunday?
Is the Super Bowl cool?
According to John, it is. Did you guys know that there have been 10 teams with at least 3 Super Bowl losses? Today's question, name any of those 10 teams that have lost at least 3 Super Bowls.
All right. I like this question. Actually, I don't. But Ryan, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Yeah, just go Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. That's a good one. Yeah, they lost 4 straight, so he's on the list. Matt, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll say the Patriots.
The Patriots on the list. There you go. All right, Ryan, back to you. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
No, I'm going to go with the 49ers.
The 49ers, unfortunately, are on that list. The last 3 Super Bowls they've been to, they've all lost.
There goes Jim's lifeline.
Yep. Back to Matt. Matt, what's your next guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
The Denver Broncos.
Denver Broncos on the list. There we go. And back to Ryan. What's your next guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Let's go ahead and use the lifeline. Remember.
Okay. Trying to think here. I'll say, thinking here. Hold on. I'm going to stick with a team that's been in a lot of Super Bowls. I'll go with the Dallas Cowboys. Do you take that?
No.
Okay. What else do you got?
I want to go with the Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles. On the list. There we go. Are we tied up? All 3? Or one final guess?
No, we're 2 apiece.
2 apiece. All right. Final round here.
Wait, who just went?
No, Ryan just went.
Okay, yeah.
So we're tied 3-3. We're going to overtime.
No, I still have to go.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Matt.
Yeah, Matt still has.
Final guess. What do you got?
The Vikings.
The Vikings on the list.
Now we're tied.
All right. So now we're going to go to overtime. Brent's going to give the rules and then the question of overtime.
All right. How overtime is going to work, guys, is I'm going to ask you another question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell. Well, actually, you're not today. You're going to yell out your name today, because if you both yell out Jim, nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you're going to yell out Ryan. Matt, you're going to yell out Matt. Whoever yells out their name first, you're either going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys got it?
Got it.
Yes.
All right. Today's overtime question. Who lost last year's Super Bowl?
Brian.
All right. I heard Ryan.
It was the Lions.
Lions not on the list.
Oh, shit.
Oh, boy. Trainwreck Radio at its finest right there. So that means Matt is the winner. Congratulations, Matt. You won a pair of tickets to see San Diego State take on Boise State Saturday, February 15th at Viejas Arena. Oh, boy. It was the 49ers. Was not the Lions. Brent, what other teams are on this list?
All right, the Patriots have lost the most. Well, they're tied with losing the most. Them and the Broncos have both lost 5. The Bills and Vikings have lost 4. The Niners, Bengals, Eagles, Rams, Dolphins, and Cowboys all lost 3.
All right, so there you go. So congratulations to Ryan on the win. All right.
To Matt on the win.
Oh, sorry, Matt on the win. It's much more difficult when it's just me and they're both my contestants because I hone in on who's John and who's Jim's is, and that makes it much easier. All right, coming up next, AJ Preller speaks. Also, what are the Padres' odds to win the World Series? They're not great. You'll hear from AJ. You'll hear their odds coming up next.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. The Lakers are on the road tonight to take on the Clippers. You can hear pregame coverage right here on San Diego Sports 760 starting at 6:45. Tip will be shortly after 7. In Super Bowl news, Kansas City head coach Andy Reid is sticking around. He told the Super Bowl media today that he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl and is going to coach for at least one more year. And the Aztecs are back on the road this Saturday when they take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts at 6 p.m. and Ted will have the tip after 7. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
We're T-minus what? 9 days from pitchers and catchers reporting at Peoria, and they still have gaping holes throughout their roster. The one thing that they kept on hammering was championship roster, championship core. You even heard AJ talk about that. We feel like we have a championship core. Don't you have to, I don't know, go to a World Series, consider yourself a championship core?
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, final hour of Jon and Jim on a Tuesday. We have Lakers basketball later tonight on the station. Luka will not be playing in the game. It's reported that he is looking to make his debut with the Lakers on Sunday. So
when he was with Dallas, the last update was that they were thinking around the 6th.
Okay.
So that would be close. So
yeah, you need to get acclimated. You probably need at least 1 or 2 practices under your belt. But the Lakers do play tonight against the Clippers in Inglewood. So you can listen to that game right here. Tip time is what, 7:15?
No, 7.
7.
Pregame starts at 6:45.
Got it. So 7 o'clock tip time here on San Diego Sports 760. You heard me talk about AJ Preller there in the open. And we didn't get to it yesterday because I didn't realize there was actual sound of AJ Preller. We mentioned AJ Preller spoke, and it was the what is it called? The leadership forum. I think like the leadership group or whatever. And that involved Mike Schilt, AJ Preller, and Eric Grupner. And when AJ Preller was asked about the roster and how it looks on, at the time, February 1st, what are his thoughts on the roster as it's constructed at this very moment?
Yeah, I mean, just to speak on Michael King, obviously the organization excited about getting a deal with Michael. I think also the arbitration process has changed over the years. It's not really the contentious process it was, 20 years ago. But again, we take a lot of pride in treating our players well, and just being able to line up with a guy in Michael's case who was a front of the rotation pitcher, did an unbelievable job last year, making him feel that we value him so he can focus on baseball this year. I think it was a big step for us here this week with Michael. And in terms of building the roster, every year is different. There's some years we've jumped out, we've made moves, early winter meetings, in November, December. There's some years we've had really super aggressive off seasons. I think you look at last year, I think our baseball group does a great job kind of understanding what values are from trades, what we're trying to do big picture wise, how we're trying to add to a championship roster. And those deals come at different points in time. So, last season we were able to add a Dylan Cease, at the end of spring training. Luis Ariz a month into the year. Donovan Solano at this point in time wasn't signed. So again, I think it's all about getting the right players in the building and making the right moves. And we understand there's a time frame for what that looks like. So again, it's not for a lack of effort from all three of our part. But ultimately, we're going to do something that makes sense. We're going to do it at the right time. We know we have a championship-type roster. We know we got some work in front of us. We've got to add a batter or two. We've got to add another starting pitcher or two. And I got a lot of faith over the next, few weeks and into the season. We'll keep looking to add to the roster and the team, and all with the goal of trying to bring a championship here to San Diego.
To have a championship roster, you still need to add a lot of pieces to it. We have a championship. He mentioned championship roster multiple times there. Now, I think that
It's like, I'm going to put together this puzzle. Just
Yeah.
disregard that gigantic hole in the center.
But it's
can't find the pieces.
But
They're
this
under
is
the couch.
This is a championship puzzle here. Even
Could be.
though half the puzzle, not half the puzzle, but a giant hole is missing.
Missing a few corner pieces,
Right.
literally.
He does a really good job of hyping up his team. And just listen to me on this. So when you think of the Padres and their farm system, you think of highly rated prospects. And then you think of these highly rated prospects being traded away and not really turning into much. And AJ Preller does a fantastic job hyping up his farm system to be, at times, one of the best in baseball. And then, in turn, he uses that to trade away a lot of these pieces in the farm for established major leaguers like Dylan Cease, Luis Ariz, Jason Adam, Brian Hoeing, Tanner Scott last year. Does anybody know what any of the players that were traded away last year are doing right now? Does anybody care? No. But what AJ does is he builds and creates this hype around the prospects, so then the ranking systems are all in his favor. And he does a fantastic job at that. I feel like he might be doing that with this team right now, the Major League Club. He is hyping them up. And look, yes, they won 93 games last year, and a lot of the same players are returning from last year's team to this year's team. But you also can't hide from the fact that some of the most important pieces of your team last year are not on it this year. So, yes, they have a good core. They have good pieces. But you need a complete 26-man roster, or close to it. And that's been AJ Preller's biggest issue. He can't build out rosters to be complete. Last year he did it. To his credit, amazing job. Now, on the flip side, saying all that stuff about AJ Preller, it is hard to really hamper on the lack of moves that he has made this offseason because of all the stuff going on with the ownership group. It's like you want AJ Preller to act and you want him to do moves, and I'm sure he wants to act and do moves as well. But he's also kind of handcuffed with the fact that you got an ownership issue between the side of the bros and Shield, and there's the directive that is probably being passed down of like, hey, we can't spend a bunch of money, if any money. This is a budget. We got to stick to this budget. So I'm sitting here and I'm listening to AJ, and yes, he's right. They have a really good core. They're not championship level yet. I'm sorry, they're not. I'll disagree with him on that. They're not championship level. They're playoff level. They have a playoff level core. They do not have a championship level core because they have not made a World Series yet. Manny Machado has to actually make a World Series in a Padres uniform to be considered championship level caliber. That's what they aspire to, and I love how they have set a goal and a standard of that. But they're not there yet, and they have a lot of work to do still. And every day that goes by with moves happening around them to teams that are directly in competition with them for a playoff spot next year, as a Padres fan, you're sitting there saying, why couldn't we have done that? Or when are they going to do something? Or why aren't we capitalizing on 93 wins last year? Why did we let Profar walk? Why this? Why that? The Dodgers are going to be the Dodgers. You can't. They won the World Series. They're going to win the division again. They're going to make the postseason. They're going to have they're going to be one of the best teams in baseball. There's nothing you can do about that. But worrying about all the others, the Atlantas, the Mets, the Braves, the Diamondbacks, the Giants potentially, probably not the Giants, but those are the teams you worry about. And right now you are, right now on paper, you're behind all of them. You just are. You might have a really good core, but guess what? They're still better than you. That's where the frustration comes in, is that it feels like you kind of got lapped Not by the Dodgers this offseason, because you've already been lapped by the Dodgers. Everybody's been lapped by the Dodgers. It feels like you've been lapped by the teams that are directly in competition with you, that you are going to be competing with for a playoff spot this year. And that's what makes it so frustrating if you're a Padres fan. Like, you shouldn't really worry about the Dodgers. I trust me, I wish I could. I wish the Padres were going into the season with good chances to win the National League West. Hell, if you're talking to Mike Schilt, that's all he's thinking about. So winning the National League West. Schilty, it's not going to happen. The teams they're competing with are the teams you have to worry about. And that's why I look at the Mets, who just got Juan Soto, and the Braves, who just got Jerkson Profar, and the Phillies, who are still the Phillies, and the D-backs, who got Corbin Burns. You know, those, if I was in that organization, I would be way more concerned about that from a Padres perspective than anything the Dodgers have done. That's no question in my mind.
To a certain extent, with AJ hyping up the team excessively this year, he kind of has to hype them up because
what's he gonna do? Yeah, they suck. We suck.
Yeah, well, because you have to look at them through possible just like, you know, trade pieces and everything else to where, you know, he can't just be like, oh yeah, you know, Joe Smith, he sucks. He's never going to be better than an A-ball player. You know, he's going to have to go, oh no, you know, Joe Smith, he's got really great upside. You know, he's got a real, you know, quick bat. You know, he's going to hype them up because you want to, teams might be interested if he's hyping up players opposed to just like, oh yeah, we got like six guys
to hype up his team.
Yeah.
And when he says championship caliber, I think you have to prove it first before you actually say it. That's just me. It's like one of those like fancy words that they use to like gloss over and shine up this little bit of a turd sandwich.
Well, that's like one of those things where it's like, oh, sorry, Jim, we can't hire you because you don't have enough experience. It's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to get experience if nobody will hire me?
Right. So I'm looking at this offseason, and I still think they have I think they have really good pieces. I mentioned this before. You know, Jackson Merrill, I'll be like Schulte right now. Jackson Merrill, coming off a rookie season that was arguably the best in franchise history, even though he didn't win the Rookie of the Year, should have won Rookie of the Year. If Tatis stays healthy, Manny's going to give you his 30 and 100 season. You know, you have a top 3 rotation of Cease, King, and Darvish that are really good. You have a really good back end of your bullpen. You have other complementary pieces that are nice. Luis Arraez is a batting champ. He wakes up every morning hitting over 300. Like, you have some really good pieces on the team. But if you're looking to get over that hump, are you going to capitalize on those pieces, or are you going to be doing what you've been doing all offseason, which is sitting on your hands? Because if you're going to hype up to us that this is a championship core, why aren't you trying to capitalize on that? And again, I can't put all of this on AJ. I get it. Hell, I don't put a lot of it on AJ. Yes, he's the one that's making the moves, but this is like the bigger picture here. When I say they, I mean the entirety of the Padres organization, starting from the top down, which is, I guess, Eric Katsenda or whoever the hell's in charge, whoever's going to be in charge, you know, not capitalizing on what AJ Preller says is a championship core is the most frustrating part of it. Because everybody around you that is in direct competition with you feels like they've lapped you in a way. That's what it feels like. And that's what makes it frustrating this offseason. Is you're seeing all the teams around you that you're going to be competing with for a wild card spot next year all improve their team except for you. And hopefully that changes. And hopefully it doesn't involve them trading Dylan Cease, because if it does, you better have plan B, C, D lined up, ready to go to get some more pitching in here, because you can't go into the season with a rotation of Michael King, Yu Darvish, Matt Waldron, Schilde's favorite player, Vandy Vasquez, and a bunch of nothing. The Padres postseason odds came out yesterday. They're not great. Their World Series odds came out today. They're even worse. We'll get into those odds coming up next right here on Jon and Jim. So playoff odds are playoff odds. Don't put too much stock into it, but it is interesting to see what the computers and analytics and all that, what they think of your baseball team. And Pacoda yesterday, it's a system that creates, rankings and projections, and it's used for a lot of different things. It's like almost like Fangraphs in a sense. Yesterday, the playoff odds for the Padres came out. Wasn't great. Pacoda has the Padres at a 38% chance to make the postseason next year. And by next year, I mean this year, you idiot. 38%. So they're behind the Dodgers, the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, the Cubs, and the Diamondbacks. Now, the Cubs are a team that, they're in the Central, so you're probably not going to be competing against them for a wild card spot. One team from the Central is going to make the postseason next year. Potentially either 3 teams for the National League West or 3 teams from the National League East will make the postseason as well. But not 3 from each division, like either 3 from the East or 3 from the West. And that's how it's going to be. 38%. So then you now see today, Pacoda announcing or releasing their World Series odds. So you would think, all right, 38%, that's pretty low. I would assume their World Series odds are pretty low as well. Dodgers, Pacoda loves the Dodgers. They have the Dodgers at 100% chance to make the postseason next year. And as far as winning the World Series, they also have them on top of their list as well at almost 22%. That is such a high number. Again, I'm not a math person, but when one team has that big of a percentage to win the World Series, and then the next team in line has a 9% chance, that's kind of wild. So they think the Dodgers are like borderline the best team in baseball history. Maybe not to that extent, but they're going to win 100 plus games. They're going to make the postseason. They're going to win the National League West. They're going to be the first, number 1 seed in the National League, unless something crazy happens, unless they have a bunch of injuries. So where are the Padres? You have to scroll all the way down. They're tied with the Milwaukee Brewers with a 0.7% chance to win the World Series. Again, projections are just right above power rankings. Power rankings are at the lowest of the low when it comes to things you should pay attention to. Never pay attention to power rankings. I'm not saying don't ever pay attention to these projections and percentage chances of the Padres making the postseason and win a World Series, but I would put a little stock into it from a standpoint of this is what these computers think of this team. I know AJ Preller's touting they have a championship core, championship team. Well, they don't think you have a championship team. The computers don't think you have a championship team. Yes, I know. The game's played on the field. Anything can happen. Look at last year's team. Last year's team at this time, I'm sure weren't ranked much higher than that. Probably didn't have a better percentage than that. Maybe they had a worse percentage. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. But they didn't have Dylan Cease. They didn't have Luis Ariz or Tanner Scott or Jason Adam. They had no idea what Jackson Merrill was going to be. But still, when you see these projections, it is a giant red mark that they still have a lot to do. And don't think that everything is okay. They have the foundation. They have a really good foundation of this house, but the walls are bare. At least some walls, not all of them. The kitchen needs a lot of work still. The living room's great. The porch is awesome. The garage is nice. The bedrooms are, but the kitchen, ugh.
But we need a back door and a front door, and
it's like things to like build out the complete roster. And I really do think that the loss of Jurickson Profar could prove to be kind of huge. Like you just heard Manny talk on Saturday expressing how tough it is to lose and see a guy like Profar walk out the door, a core piece of this team. You know, you lost an all-star player. How have you replaced that? You haven't. So unless guys like Manny Machado, or not Manny Machado, unless guys like Fernando Tatis Jr. and Xander Bogaerts, you know, Xander turns into an all-star and Tatis turns into the 2021 version of himself, then that loss of Profar could really, really hurt. And now it's just a matter of who is going to fill that hole. How are they going to fill that hole and when? Because all these role players that are now signing with teams, you just saw 2 of them today, signed for less than $7 million each. You're thinking, all right, if you're not going after those role players, what's up your sleeve? What's down your pants, AJ? As Schulte would say. He got something down his pants and up his sleeves. And you're really, I mean, Schulte's running the risk here, Brent, of really going like for this entire offseason with everything he said. We're going to land Roki Sasaki. Ain't wrong. No, you're not. AJ Preller's got stuff down his pants, up his sleeves. So far, no, not yet.
It's magic. We just haven't seen it yet.
Schulte believes in magic, though, right? Well, no, like he believes in magic.
Probably.
He's like, oh, magic's real.
Like real magic?
Like real, actual magic. Schulte's like, yeah, it's real.
Probably.
All right, coming up next, if you missed our conversation with Will Brinson, senior CBS NFL writer, the Super Bowl is this week. Are you excited? 70470. Is the Super Bowl cool to you? That was John's question of the day that he gave me. But if you missed Will, you're going to hear him come up next on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. The Lakers are on the road tonight to take on the Clippers. You can hear pregame coverage right here on San Diego Sports 760 starting at 6:45. Tip will be shortly after 7. In Super Bowl news, Kansas City head coach Andy Reid is sticking around. He told the Super Bowl media today that he has no plans to retire after the Super Bowl and is going to coach for at least one more year. And the Aztecs are back on the road this Saturday when they take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts at 6 p.m. and Ted will have the tip after 7. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
All right, Super Bowl 59 is Sunday. It's Super Bowl week. Doesn't really feel like it, though. Will Brinson, CBS senior NFL writer, he joined us earlier in the show, and I asked him just that. Does it feel like Super Bowl week to you?
Yeah, it does. And I think it's like partially because nobody's like that excited about this matchup, even though it's in a vacuum, like a great matchup. You know, I just think it's having to like get the Chiefs and the Eagles once again is maybe what is sort of driving the lack of interest, where it's like, I mean, literally the only things about this that have changed are like Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, and Saquon Barkley. You know, and those are big things. Like those matter. But I mean, you know, by and large, it's been, I think, kind of like, you know, it's just like we know what it was, and it's also we know, you know what the Chiefs are going to say. They become like the Patriots were for not just on the field, but even like at media day, where there's no surprises. You know what you're going to get. There's talk about a three-peat, and then I think too, it's like, you know, everyone is so tired of the voodoo economics, for lack of a better phrase, that the Chiefs use to win games, like this black magic they pull out of the hat, where it's like, it's going to be a great game, it's going to be close, and then Mahomes are going to steal it at the end because that's what Patrick Mahomes does. And I just think maybe it's even on the heels of the Patriots dynasty. Getting another dynasty so soon is like very just sort of wearing on the public in general. There's no little teams popping up to do fun stuff.
Right. It's the same thing we've seen, even though it's a great team. And even though it's a Hall of Famers everywhere on the field. Yeah, I think, you know, people do get exhausted about, you know, watching the same thing over and over again.
Having said that, you know, let's point out, getting to watch Patrick Mahomes play football should be one of the life's great joys. You know, getting to see Tom Brady, the entirety of Tom Brady's career is something that I greatly appreciate. I'm sure I'll appreciate it more as I get older. And then the same thing with Mahomes, like getting to see his whole career, getting to see the way that he plays at a high level in these games, we probably shouldn't take for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's one of those things where if you are not a Chiefs fan, a lot of other fan bases just don't like him. It feels like the Jordan effect. Like if you were a Knicks fan in the 90s, you know, you hated Jordan, even though it was Michael Jordan, and everybody was like, dude, we're watching greatness right now. And that's what you're doing right now with Patrick Mahomes. Will Brinson, CBS senior NFL writer, joining us here on Jon Jim, brought to you by Hamul Casino. If you're the New York Giants, how hard are you rooting for the Chiefs to win this game?
Pretty hard.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, yeah. At least there's somebody, right? It's like Taylor Swift. And,
right. Because if the Chiefs do win, it's just another indictment. And I don't know how many more indictments you can have on the Giants' choice here to let Saquon go. But it's just like, can we stop seeing the clip of John Mara just having his... It's like, can we stop?
Every I will say, like, guilty as charged, too. Like, every time Saquon does something awesome, I also want to, like, tweet out the meme where it's like, if Saquon goes to the Eagles, I'm going to be sick. And you know, if the Eagles win, I mean, I don't think you're going to, like, fire Brian Dable and Joe Shea now, but I mean, it's definitely going to continue to be an indictment of, you know, of the decision. But I also go back to this too. It's like, yeah, I mean, you know, it looks stupid because of like how Saquon's doing, but I'm not entirely sure that the Giants, like, I don't think we would be having the same conversation if the Giants had kept Saquon around, because I don't think that he would be having as good a season with the Giants, and they certainly wouldn't be in the Super Bowl because they got Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense from that angle. And, you know, now that Saquon's on the big stage, it just gets amplified even more that the Giants let him go. And oh my God, he went to the rival Eagles. Will Brinson, CBS senior NFL writer, join us here on Jon and Jim. You're not betting against Mahomes again, are you?
No, I learned my lesson. I mean, I will say, I think I was like, and we talked about this on last, but like, I was kind of right about the Bills game where it was going to be close. Josh Allen was definitely going to have a chance to derail the narrative, and ultimately Patrick Mahomes was probably going to come in and steal the show, which he did. And I think there's a real chance for the exact same thing to happen here, where you have the Eagles are a really good football team, probably the better football team than the Chiefs. They're going to play great. Jalen Hurts will be awesome. Saquon Barkley is going to be incredible. That offensive line will be great. The receivers are awesome. The defense has been great this year. Jalen Carter's going to have a monster game, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to show up at the last second and steal the game. Like, that's probably how it's going to go, similar to what went a few years ago with the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's the same game, and no one would be surprised if that were to happen. But if you're the Eagles, Will, like, give me the blueprint in your opinion. Like, what if they don't do this on Sunday? You're gonna like lose your mind.
If they don't, I mean, I think if they, that's a good question. If they allow Travis Kelce to torch him, I think I might lose my mind. Right? I mean, it's like the guy hasn't been great during the regular season. He shows up during the postseason. He is sort of the fulcrum in the postseason for that offense. And it's like, if you, and by the way, they got beat pretty bad by tight ends over the last couple of weeks, whether it was Zach Ertz or Tyler Higbee. If you go out here and you get torched by Travis Kelce in this spot where we know Travis Kelce is going to show up, then that's just I think it's tough. But I mean, there's nothing really that they could do outside of, even if they come out and start throwing the ball over the place with Jalen Hurts to try and open up the run game, because I think the Chiefs will stack the box against them. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that, like, maybe Nick Sirianni yells at the crowd. That might drive me crazy, but I feel like I just feel like the way that this game is going to play out is like set in stone. And it's hard to imagine a different scenario than, like, I don't think either team's going to blow the other one out. Mm-hmm. Even if Philly gets a huge lead, I don't think that the Chiefs are just going to cave and not come back. And I suppose the Chiefs could get a big lead and not stick with the run, and that would maybe make me mad. But I just think I think it's going to be really similar to what we saw a couple of years ago with the Chiefs and the Eagles, and that's just how it's going to play out.
Yeah, because like you said, these are like very similar teams to back then, with like a couple new players, and obviously Saquon is the biggest, but most and large, like they have the same rosters that they did a couple of years ago. Will Brinson join us here on Jon and Jim. When you look at Patrick Mahomes and you say, all right, if he wins a third straight here, never been done in NFL history. The talk of him being the GOAT is already out there. Greatest of all time, this and that. So then what stops the Chiefs if Patrick Mahomes wins this Super Bowl? Because it kind of feels like nothing will stop them from winning another Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've been saying for months. They're the new Patriots, where they figured out a way with the contract that Mahomes is under and all the pieces they have in place. And I mean, remember, it's not that long ago that they traded Tyreek Hill, and people were like, well, that's it for the Chiefs. And they just figured out a way to reload and adjust. And I think that's how you build these dynasties. And so, like, really the only things, like, Travis Kelce retiring would be a big blow, but they've shown they can win without him being, a critical component on the offense. They added Xavier Worthy. They're going to find a way to add other pieces in free agency in the draft. They'll keep doing that. The defense stays so strong. I think the one thing that could stop the Chiefs from winning, like, basically every year would be coaching. If Andy Reid decided to hang it up, and he said he's definitely back next year, I think he'll be back for a while, because why not? If you're winning the Super Bowl every year, why would you walk away? And then, Steve Spagnuolo, is a big deal. Like the fact that he's gotten some interviews this year, but nobody's really wanted to hire him, and he's just been like you would never see the architect of a 3-time Super Bowl champion defense really get almost no looks as a head coach just because he was bad with the Rams. It's like this guy's won so many titles as a defensive coordinator, and I think being able to hold on to him is a major feather in Andy Reid's cap, even if sort of by accident, but just like that just makes a massive difference for the Chiefs and what they're trying to build, I tend to think.
Yeah, that makes me upset every year. Like, how is nobody going out there and just backing up the Brinks truck for Spags? Like, you wanna really try to break up this quote unquote dynasty? Then you hire away one of their better coaches. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just.
If you're the AFC, go hire Spags and then fire him like a week later after they hire the new. Not really, but I mean, yeah, I just think, yeah, it's crazy because this guy's had so much success as a defensive coordinator. And I mean, just doesn't really seem to be any particular interest in trying to bring him in as a head coach anywhere.
Yeah, it's wild because all you hear from players that play with Spags is how amazing he is. And in the last couple Super Bowls, some of the biggest defensive plays, they credit Spags for dialing it up at the exact right time. But no, this just keep him on the Chiefs and continue to have a great defense. It's totally fine.
It's like the Bills. Stop trading with the Chiefs on draft day.
Yes.
Like when the Chiefs, when you see Brett Veach's number or John Dorsey's number,
don't pick up.
You're in Kansas City area code, just don't answer.
Yeah.
It's simple.
It's very simple. Don't pick up. All right, final one here for you, Will. Give me your favorite prop bet. I don't know if you've seen the prop bets, but I'm sure you've, could name some off the top of your head. But what is your favorite prop bet, like going into a Super Bowl, that you keep an eye on?
Okay, so I got a bunch of long shot ones that I put up on CBSSports.com. I'll give a few out. Xavier Worthy to have 50-plus receiving yards in the first quarter is, I think, 30 to 1.
Ooh.
And I mean, this is a guy that can just get it done on one shot. And so I sort of love that one. I also am a big fan of Jalen Hurts to record the first down of the game because you can get it with a scramble. You can get it with a designed run. And you can certainly get it with a tush push if they have third or fourth and short early on in that game where they're willing to be aggressive no matter where they are on the field. So I kind of like and that's like 14 to 1. So I kind of like all three of those as long shots. But I think, if you want one that's like basically even money, Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown is minus 110 or minus 115. And we're talking about a guy that just is going to get the ball on the 1 yard line every single time when they do that tush push. Saquon doesn't care, doesn't bother him that Hurts is involved there. And I just think that's probably an incorrect price for Hurts to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I feel like he's going to have multiple touchdowns in this game. He's like you said, he's like a touchdown vulture. When they get to the 1, he's going to do a tush push and they're going to get it in. It's just an automatic for the Eagles. All right, Will, well, have a good weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you for a final time to recap the game coming up next week. John will be returning, so we'll both have you for next week for our final time. All right, Will, thanks for joining us, man. Have a great rest of your night, man.
Thanks, man. Talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, Will Brinson there, senior NFL writer for CBS Sports. All right, coming up next, we'll wrap up the show and get to my back page. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. basketball tonight. No, Luka is not playing. He's expected to play and make his Lakers debut on, I think, Sunday night. But tonight, they take on the Clippers, 7 p.m. tip time. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. Now, let me get this straight here. Hold on. Pause. Stand by. So, wait, no, the Lakers don't play Sunday. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why would they play Sunday? Saturday is the day against the Pacers at home, 1 p.m. tip time. Sunday, all the games are before the Super Bowl. There's nothing going on during the Super Bowl.
Well, duh. No one's that stupid.
I was like, wait, no, that's wrong, Jim. It's Saturday, not Sunday. There are 3 NBA games on Sunday, but one of them is at 10 a.m. and then 2 of them are at 11 a.m. Bucks Sixers, 11 a.m. on ABC. Super Bowl doesn't kick off until around 3:30-ish.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Totally fine.
Get a game in before the big game.
Good on all the other sports for not having anything going on during the Super Bowl, because that'd be the dumbest scheduling ever.
What's the point?
Let me just make sure. So we got NHL on Sunday. They only have 2 games that day, one at 9:30 a.m. and 10 a.m. Basketball, there has to be at least one basketball game during the Super Bowl. No, wait, top 25 matchups, there aren't any during the Super Bowl. But if I'm looking at Division 1, all of Division 1, let's check here. Nope. All Division 1 games on Sunday and for the Super Bowl. So no college basketball, no NHL, no NBA, obviously no baseball. Smart. I think they've always done that, or at least they've recently done that, and I just am an idiot. But I've been saying Luka's about to make his debut for the Lakers on Sunday. It's actually Saturday against the Indiana Pacers. Were you going to say something, Brent?
No.
Okay, let's get to it. All right, Brent. So we've already talked about the Fantastic Four trailer. So we don't need to talk about that anymore. It was okay. It was fine. I thought it was okay. You liked it more than me.
Yeah, I liked it.
But all in all, I think it was a kind of not a waste of time, but it was too hyped up in my opinion. They hyped it up a lot this morning. Like to get up at 4 a.m. West Coast time for a 1:30 trailer that was kind of meh.
Yeah, but you didn't get up at 4 a.m.
Of course I didn't, Brent.
So then what are you complaining about? I can see I got up at 4 a.m. for this. Like you didn't. You got up at 8:30.
No, I'm very glad that I did not get up that early. Did you see that MLB The Show is coming out soon? I think it's a lot of leaks have been happening, but Major League Baseball said today that in MLB The Show 25, college teams and metal bats will be in play. Now, for all gamers out there, this obviously means more to you than me. I think it's pretty cool. If you're a big college baseball guy, you can play with.
I wouldn't be too excited because I think I know what they're doing.
What are they doing?
Madden, before college came out again, Madden would do. They have that mode where you create your player or whatever, and then you have to go through the thing. For that mode, you would pick a college, and then you'd play like one fake game, but you'd only have like 6 colleges to choose from, like Oklahoma and like some of the bigger like blue bloods were in there. So I'm kind of guessing that this will be a deal where, you'll create Jim Russell, and then you'll have to play 2 games with LSU or somebody like that, and then you'll get quote drafted in the Major League draft.
In Major League Draft,
yeah. That's my guess, because that's what they always did with Madden. They always kind of tricked people. Go, oh look, Oklahoma jerseys. They got college teams in there. It's like, oh yeah, that's just for baseball. Will be Road to the Show mode.
Well, you're right, because the players can start their baseball journey at the high school level and then continue their road to the show by selecting their college. The 3 colleges that they have here that they're promoting. Right here, the picture, it has UCLA, TCU, And what other team is this?
The Banana Slugs.
No. UCLA. I can't see this. Anyway, the couple teams they have there that they have Tennessee Vols as well. So maybe you get to pick from a bunch of teams, Brent, not just like a handset of like 2 or 3 teams. No?
I don't know. We'll see. Because, yeah, Madden, you only had like a handful you could pick from, like some of the bigger ones.
Right. Well, anyway, I think that's a pretty cool feature. They're also bringing back Legends to the game. When a baseball video game can bring back Barry Bonds, that's when I'll be excited. Because forever it was John Doe or Jason Dowd or whatever his name was.
Yeah, it's John Dowd.
John Dowd.
But
he was amazing.
But that was on Barry Bonds. That wasn't on him because he didn't sign the thing. That's the same reason why Charles Barkley and Reggie Miller and a lot of those guys aren't.
Bill Belichick isn't in Madden.
Yeah, they're not in the NBA 2K because they're not part of the Players Association. They want more money for their likeness.
According to a report on Super Bowl Sunday, can you guess how many wings will be consumed by the American public?
20 million. Probably more than that.
You're a little off. Americans are projected to eat 1.47 billion chicken wings while watching the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles on Super Bowl Sunday. This report says it marks a 1.5% increase from last year's Super Bowl, or about 20 million more wings. So there you go. Me and Aaron were talking about getting wings on Sunday. So I'm a part of the whole entire wings consumption of over 1.47 billion. All right, Lakers basketball tonight at 7 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow starting at 2 p.m. right here on Jon and Jim. In the meantime, have a great rest of your night, everybody.